Hiya Benchmates, welcome back to Beyond the Box Art. And if you're hiding your latest purchases from your partner, don't worry, you're amongst friends. Your benchmates at the mic for this episode are Paul Pendleton-Brown, with his co-hosts Mike Baldwin, Dan Brazil, Shane Cowie, Martin Drayton, Luke Flynn, Ian Hartop, Mark Housley, James Nevitt, and Paul Wong.
Hey Benchmates, welcome back to Beyond the Box Art, where models, modelers and the stories behind them take centre stage. In this episode we're shining a spotlight on modelling with purpose as we sit down with Steph Keeley and James Giffins to talk about the upcoming 48 in 48 long weekend charity build in support of Models for Heroes. What started as a simple idea has grown into a community-driven event bringing builders together for creativity, camaraderie and a genuinely important cause. And we'll be finding out how you can get involved. Then, we're joined by the Ma.K master himself, the one and only Lincoln Wright. This isn't your typical interview, it's a deep, fascinating conversation that goes beyond techniques and into philosophy, creativity and the art behind Maschinen Krieger. And yes, we definitely threw some challenging questions his way. Also in this episode we have the normal bits you love, including the stash inflation report and most of the announcements from the Nuremberg Toy Fair. So grab a brew, clear a little space on the bench and settle in. This is episode 21 of Beyond the Box Art, and it starts now. Right, for this episode I'm joined by Wongy. Hello everyone. Boulders. Hello. Dan.
Hello Benchmate.
Mark.
Okay guys.
And John from Guideline Publications.
Hi everybody.
So instead of talking about what we've got on our bench this time, for a rare occurrence, we'll talk about the recent show we just partook in at Bolton. So, we've got the chair of the organisation. We had
The charm man.
I wouldn't go that far. Nah. And we've got the show manager, Boulders.
Have indeed.
Hello everyone again.
Oh, for heaven's sake, stop building up your part.
Oh no.
Right. So, Boulders, for you, how did the show go for you? Give us the lowdown.
I'll give you the lowdown first. Little hiccups, nothing too major. Was extremely busy. I've never seen it that busy before. From as soon as the doors opened till about 2:30, it was absolutely chocker. Great atmosphere, no issues at all. Went round to traders to speak to them. They loved it. And I'm just hoping that everybody that attended loved it as well and that they'll come back again next year.
I haven't seen anything negative online, so that's obviously a good sign.
No, I'm still typing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, they're still typing. So yeah, it's been 9 months planning, because obviously I have to start planning it before the show dates come. So obviously I've got to get stuff ready, new database set up and everything else for people to contact us. Now it's able to be done on the website as well. We've just got to sort that out for this year, next year's show. But yeah, everybody I spoke to was highly complimentary and saying it was a cracking show.
And obviously traders need to get in early if they want to pitch next year, because you were sold out this year, I believe.
Yes, it's got to the point now because obviously people have been expressing their
Interest.
interests, that Bolton is the best one-day show in the UK, which is a highly lovely comment. And it's just going from strength to strength because it's going by word of mouth. I've had one new trader this year who came all the way from Bournemouth to trade, and in all honesty, I don't think they were quiet all day, because I went up multiple times to see what they had and I couldn't get in a word. I couldn't get in at all because he was just rammed.
This is the one you dragged me to, isn't it?
Yes.
And you said, have a look at those prices there. And I said, hang on, this is pre-COVID prices. Yeah. They were bargains. Bargains
to be had. They had 2 great big cardboard boxes to the right of them between them and Earthix, and they were rammed to the rafters, and the kits were £5 each. And I went back up about an hour and a half later. There was nothing left.
These new or were they second hand?
Second hand.
They were second hand, but they were still sealed. There was one or two which were sort of parts started, really. But by the time you dragged me up there, all I could see, in fact, I couldn't even get my arm down the bottom of the box. It was that deep, and there was nothing in it.
Yeah, it was a deep box. There was nothing in it. Literally, there was a spare piece of plastic from a kit, but obviously the guy that had grabbed one out, he said, "Oh, you must have come out of this because there's a hole in it." They had some rare kits, Matchbox. They had a Night Fighter, Meteor Night Fighter, still factory sealed. Vickers Wellesley, still factory sealed. He had some absolute gems, and I mean really, really good kits, and I was so glad.
Oh God, what did I see? That you showed me that Matchbox kit, which was like a tenner for the orange range.
Yeah,
And it's just incredible prices. Well, it beats the online auction house. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
By hands down. So I am, hopefully, did he say yes to coming back?
So I asked him, and I said, "Have you got on?" He said, "We've not stopped." I said, "Well, that's what I like to hear." I said, "Because you're a new trader to the show." They were recommended by 3D Gizmo.
Excellent. Hello, Dave.
Yep. Hello, Dave. Thanks very much, Dave. And Simon from Bruton Model Club as well. And they went straight in. I thought they'd just go for like 6 or 12 foot. No, they went for 24. And I now know why they went for 24 foot. And I asked him, "Would you like to come back again?" He said, "It's not me you need to ask." So I asked his lovely other half, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll have a think about it." And as they were leaving, they went to see you next year. So they're hooked.
How did you get on with the club stands? Did you manage to squeeze everybody in the end? I know you got a few people that were a bit late in getting to you.
Yeah, so we had one club that had emailed to say that they'd heard nothing regarding the show. I'd sent emails out. Unfortunately, they didn't respond, and they openly admitted that it was their fault. There was a few little hiccups, but nothing too major. It was all sorted within 10, 15 minutes. We had some European traders for the first time. So we had Copper State Models.
They were great. Edgar. Hello, Edgar.
Great Edgar. Yeah, absolutely smashing.
Of which Latvia is slightly further afield than Bournemouth.
Yes. Yeah, they did.
And then we also had Dynamo Models. They attended for the first time this year. His stuff looked absolutely superb.
Superb. Absolutely superb. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a proper look at, obviously, I was running around everywhere and saying hello and whatnot. And by the time I actually started to go around and have a look at products and stuff like this, I was blown away by the sculpting on the figures.
Some absolutely stunning figures.
It's like being in a sweet shop. You don't know which one to get because they're all that good.
Where was this, Wongi? Which shop was this?
This is Dynamo, and they were downstairs next door to Copper State Models, just near Mr. Models section down there. Yeah. They absolutely lovely.
Yeah. Were they the ones that had them all up in 3D or unpainted? Nothing.
No. They were all in boxes. As you went, if you went from the main entrance and went to the right and walked down, as you were walking towards Mr. Models at the bottom, on the right-hand side, he was the second one in to the end.
I tell you what impressed me. Those guys with those, they were like an Action Man size, all in uniforms.
Oh, they're 1/6.
Yeah, 1/6.
With brilliant faces, all painted like amazing.
Yeah.
Les Cooper, absolutely superb. His figures are so...
They were amazing to see, yeah. So realistic.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure one of them winked as you walked past. They were painted to such an extent of realism. And we all try and paint figures and they always end up with Scooby-Doo eyes, don't they? But his was...
I'd give up doing eyes.
Yeah, I don't even paint them anymore. It's easier. But he was fantastic. So, which one? Right, guys, which table stood out for you?
Do you mean club table or traders? Where are we talking?
Club table. For me, I didn't really get a good look round, and it's only watching it online with the loads of YouTube videos that are coming out now that I've actually had a good look round, and it's one where I think I couldn't choose because a lot of them were so good. How do you choose?
Was it up to you to choose best table?
Nope, ducked out of that one because I couldn't.
For me, the cross-section of models they had on the table, I don't think you could actually beat the Scale Fanatics, the IPMS group.
They were good.
They were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they're a new group as well. They're a new club as well that's come as well. That was their first year.
Yeah. So it's an IPMS branch, which is a virtual branch.
They were great with William.
And literally modelers from all over came with models, and they were absolutely top-notch, including some of the guys that were on our build session earlier in the year, over the new year.
Oh, right. So do they work on the same format as the 580? Is that what?
Yeah, pretty much.
No physical club meetings or anything like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were great. William, my son, because they had loads of Marvel and DC stuff and Gundams and all sorts. They had a real good selection on the table, and William was deep in conversation with them and come away with a sticker. And I went, "Oi, go and get one for your old man."
Every time I saw him, he was like a whirling dervish. He couldn't get enough, could he?
Oh, he loves it. He loves the shows. He really does. He doesn't really know where to look. But of course, on our Mighty West Norfolk stand, I'm so proud because he put his Gundams out and his few figures and his Transformers and stuff. And yeah, he was holding his own in conversation with people, discussing how he built them. And it was really good. And your man from PM, I can't remember his...
Stanley. Hello, Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley. Yeah, and Stanley, very impressive. Had the I don't know where he got it. It was a Gundam apron, and he was casting quite a critical eye over Williams. I think it's the RX-78, the very original Gundam, the very first Gundam that was out in the show back in the 70s. And of course, that was the first one that William did some weathering on. And they were deep in conversation about that as well, so it's fantastic. But my favourite table, I think it was the Motorsport SIG that had the Tamiya theme, and it was really great. I love looking at car models, I really do. I probably, because I don't really have much desire to build. There's one or two that I'd have a go at. I love the little Mark II Escorts and stuff like that, the sort of cult British cars. But the standard of car builds, they're not toy-like, they are real scale representations. They're so nice to look at, and when they got the bonnets open and you can see all in the engines, and even the rally cars, they've got that sort of that dull aluminium or stainless steel finish inside with all the roll cages and the seat belts. They're just brilliant, they really are. So that was my favourite.
Obviously, Dan, it was your first time coming to the Bolton show. What did you think?
Well, I had a wander outside because I got my timing all wrong. I had to run back out to the car to get something, and saw the queue, literally queuing round the block. And as a venue, I think it's great because I don't know if people realise, because it's a football stadium, it's very accessible if you're in a wheelchair, or because there were quite a few people on mobility scooters, and I did see some wheelchair users and stuff. So it's really catered for accessibility. There's 2 lifts. You can take your choice of which one you want to get upstairs so you don't miss anything. And it's all sort of flat floors, and it's made for accessibility. So that's great. Obviously, millions of parking spaces, so that's never an issue. I did say to Wongy that the price on the door for what you're seeing in a day, that is a big show, and you do need all day to look round. If you're going to look round all of the tables and all of the traders as well, and then go back for a second look and have something to eat and all the rest of it, you definitely need the whole day there to see the whole show. And yeah, I think it was great. And personally, for me, I like going to shows that are in different places because I get to see the clubs and SIGs that they themselves might not necessarily travel so far. So you've almost got to go to where they're going. And it's great to see different stuff, because I must admit, quite a lot of the shows that I go to in my region do see a lot of the same people, and not unfortunately, but you do see a lot of the same builds, which is
Yeah, it's the same for us down in the northwest, and then when we travel up to Scotland, it's a completely different bunch of people.
Yeah, and you get talking to new faces, and I had an absolute blast. And obviously, I stayed in a lovely location with my good friend there, Mr. Housley. So
That's all the Housley.
You're always welcome, mate. Always welcome.
yeah, it was fantastic. I would say it would be great if it was a 2-dayer, but I know that's.
Don't say that. Yeah. Oh my God, the pressure is on already.
I know, but you could definitely do a 2-dayer, and I reckon you could definitely maybe fit some sort of a seminar in, or get one of the big names to attend to maybe do some demoing. Yeah.
Well, funny you should say that, but
It's perfect venue. It's got screens hanging up in there, you know?
yeah, I know. We had 2 firsts at the show besides our European traders. Well, one of them was we actually convinced the Rail Nuts team to come over and do some demonstrations of modelling techniques with grasses and stuff which is pertinent to rail modelling, but again, it works for
Crossover. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Loads of crossover. Yeah.
We still use it in dioramas and ours, yeah. Oh,
absolutely. It works for us lot. Yeah. And
And whether in wagons and carriages and stuff like that, you'd use on military vehicles and aircraft.
exactly the same. Yeah. And it was delightful that Pete Waterman, who a lot of the older generation kids know.
We should be so lucky.
Yeah. He's a ex-music producer. He's done loads of things back in the day with Kylie and
Rick Astley.
Actually, Rick Astley, the kids would know, wouldn't they?
Yes, Rick Roll.
Yeah. You get Rick rolled. That's it.
Rick Rolling. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was one of his. He was great and he presented our competition prizes. So I really enjoyed talking to him. And the other first for me was Mrs. Wong turned up.
yes, we met her. And very nice she was too.
Oh, yes, we had a very long conversation. The amount you've been spending.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, hope you didn't dob me in it, did you?
Totally.
But yeah, and she was extolling the fact that she built a Harrier to you guys, didn't she?
Oh, yes. We've got the evidence.
Yeah. Yes, indeedy. Oh, I bet she showed you the picture, didn't she?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, do you mean there's a picture?
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Wong with the glamorous Harrier. So, yeah.
I will say, I saw a lot of kids at the show with parents.
Yes.
There was a lot of kids this year. Absolutely. Like a
Yeah.
lot of children this year, which I'm really glad about.
And even better, a lot of them with a model kit under their arm. I mean, come on.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. And for the older kids, we still had our great group, the 99th Garrison Star Wars cosplay guys. They, hats off.
Oh, they were brilliant. Yeah.
Hats off to you, Chris, and the lads there. They did a sterling job. Were there first thing in the morning, trooping all over the place, interacting with the kids. The kids loved it. Grown-ups loved it even more because they could have the photo as well.
Yeah.
And we'll see how we can make it even better. So watch this space.
Oh, you mean Baldus isn't going to be there?
It'll be difficult.
It'll be an empty room, I think, if Boulders doesn't do anything. So
I know.
Oh, text me. It's literally 9 months. And then people generally go, well, why have you not built anything? Because they don't realise how much work it is sitting here, setting everything up, doing this, making sure everything's coming through, start the planning process.
but you need other people to pull their weight as well and do their bit.
Come on, Boulders. I pulled me weight, didn't I?
She did.
Even the venue staff, the boys and girls that were behind the catering stand, I mean, obviously they're used to dealing with football crowds, so that must have been a nice change for them on a Sunday.
Well, you had to chant your order in, though, didn't you? Really?
Yeah, but they were really bubbly and friendly, and well, they're used to getting the orders out quick because half time at a football match, you've only got 15 minutes to feed 20,000 people, and even they were brilliant. And they almost, when someone says good morning to you, and that makes a difference. And like I said to you, Wongy, your guys from the club that were checking wristbands, they use their common sense. If you're walking in with a great big stack of boxes, unlike other shows that I've been to where they demand to see it and you think, okay, I'll just put this great big stack of stuff down. I'm not here. I'm not going to try and get in for nothing. I've come here at the crack of dawn. It just little things like that go a long way. So well done to all of the Bolton crew that put in such a massive effort in. For me, as a first-time attendee, I absolutely loved it.
There are plenty of first timers. Just to give you guys an idea, and before I say anything else, I've got to say a big thank you to the club members. They've been absolutely brilliant. So I'll say this now. I had it on good authority from a friend of mine, and hello, Abu. He's listening now. I know it. And he said to me, he was chatting to various visitors. One was from New Zealand, who heard about us. Another was from the USA, and there was a chappie from France as well. And they heard about us from this very podcast.
See, it does work.
Superb.
There you go.
So we've got 3 listeners. That's great.
Yeah. Good day. Oh, hang on. That didn't sound right, did it?
Not at all. But if I told Dan what the actual listening figures are at the moment, he'd actually go completely nuts.
No, please don't. Please don't. It scares me. I don't want to know. We're just having a chat. It's just us having a chat.
So if for listeners, if you want to get a flavour of what Bolton was like, there are loads of YouTube videos which are out right now. So if you just Google in Bolton. Oh, it's virtually on the same day, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know how these guys do it.
Well, Ms. Modeler.
And this should be on the website as well.
Oh, I've got to say a big thank you to Lexi, Miss Modeler, because she was very appreciative of my F-16 model, which I've been banging on about for ages. And I didn't tell anyone, but I actually did it with the flares all coming out of the back end of the aircraft. So she liked it. That'll do. That was it.
Fair enough. Okay, so John, what did you think of the Bolton show then?
Well, I'm going to be like the person that spoils the party.
Exactly.
Here, because I'm afraid I didn't make it. I'm afraid I was.
Wah, 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 wah.
Oh, there we go.
Not good enough.
Oh, God.
I was, but I've got a very valid excuse. I'm so sorry. We were asked if we would dog sit for some friends that have gone off abroad for 3 weeks, and the dog needs a lot of walking, and my partner does a lot of commuting for work during the week, and it was unfair to leave her to do all the dog walking for a full day. So I'm afraid
Should have just brought the dog, John.
India the collie is to blame. I'm blaming the dog.
There's a great big grass area in the middle of that stadium. You do know that.
The dog ate my model show.
There's a big football pitch. You could have just let her off the lead. Go on, you're all right, a few hours.
I think there's enough crap goes on that pitch at Bolton, isn't there?
Oh,
Fired.
Boulders, I think we're going to be banned.
It's fighting talk from the Southampton fan. There we go. No, so I am really sorry. There was a plan to come up, but then we ended up dog sitting, and we just couldn't do it. So I was actually really looking forward. Well, Gary lives in Harrogate, doesn't he?
Gary made it.
He only has to scale the Pennines or whatever people from Harrogate do.
Climbs up one end and slides down the other.
Pretty local then, really, isn't he? Yeah.
I'll be there next year. I promise.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, it's recorded.
And of course, we also had a member of the team actually came away with Best in Show.
Oh, we did. Spence and his F-14.
Oh, he was a bit rough when he, bless him.
Yeah, he wasn't looking so well, was he?
He became unwell on the way up, so probably not used to the Bolton air because it was cold on Sunday. That was a bit Baltic.
I will just say, yeah, if anybody's, for us Southern softies that are visiting Bolton, you're definitely going to need a big coat because it is a few degrees chillier there.
Or as we call it in Bolton, a second T-shirt.
Yeah, that's it. And whatever you do, if you go up to the catering and say, can I have a bacon roll, you might as well be asking in a foreign language because they mean, do you mean a sausage bam?
So it's a barm cake up here.
What? A barn? No, it's not in a barn. I want a roll.
Yeah, but a roll's a roll. So like a hot dog, that would be like that would be a roll up this end. But I think Dan needs to have a Wigan kebab the next time he's up.
I now know the lingo. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, the Wigan kebabs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lovely. Yeah. Well, the podcast does have its own food critic. I'm sure he knows all the good spots to eat.
Okay, so we've obviously covered the main parts of the show for Bolton. What have people bought at Bolton?
Nothing. Apart from a latte, and that was £3.
I didn't buy any. No, I didn't buy any models, but I got stuck at the PM stores. Your friend Stanley, and I would like to. I spent a lot of money on a little file. I spent but you know that is absolutely. Oh, it was £30 odd. Let me say, closer to 40 than it was to 30. It was a lot of. But it's very, very good. He's brilliant. He's amazing. Yeah, he did. And he gave me a few bits and pieces. I think the minute you hit a certain number, he's free. I have that. Yeah. I got some sanding pads and stuff like that, which again, very good, really good. And they weren't too bad actually, price wise. They were okay. Everything he's got there is expensive, but it's all top notch stuff. It's all Japanese stuff. It's all really amazing. Yeah. Well, I got some of them off him at Telford, and they really are good.
My lad, he bought some stuff from Stanley, and it was those, Dan, you'll know, it's those chisels to engrave on Gundam and stuff like that. And we're talking like less than 0.5 millimeter.
Yeah, they're real precision made stuff, and the steel that they're made out of is top quality as well.
Oh, I'd be too scared to get one just in case I dropped it and stabbed my foot.
I was going to say, yeah, you wouldn't want to put one through your wrist. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I'll slip and put it through your thumb.
Do you know what was nice for me? I was instructed by Brownie to bring 2B models and put them on the table. He said, you better bring that ship, that Sheffield, the one that won, but only got...
Yeah, I know. He asked me when I got there, and I said, I didn't even think about it.
Oh, you're joking.
I didn't even think about... No, I didn't even think... It didn't even enter my head to bring something.
I had Brownie's instructions.
Well, I actually put a note on the group that said, don't forget to bring the stuff to the stands. And only Wongy actually brought anything, and Nevs.
Oh, yeah, Nevs. And let's talk about Nevs here. Nevs did his inaugural shop, didn't he?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes, Pond Stones, and I was his first customer.
Well, you know what, Brownie? I'll send you the photo that I took of Nevs and his little stall. Well, yeah, and his mum was absolutely lovely. So there you go.
And his mum, Wendy, she was brilliant.
He was really, really pleased. Yep. Yeah.
His mum was ace.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I got the 148th Zukimura F4C Phantom.
Oh, nice.
And we will be getting some stuff because Faye's Hanger very kindly put a box of stuff into the post for us to give away at the show. But he thought the show was in February.
Oh, dear.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, he's just 11 months early, that's all. That's all it is. He's early. Yeah.
Yeah, quite. Or it can be used at Telford, because we were invited at the weekend to actually have the stand at Telford again this year.
That's cool, isn't it? That's acknowledgement, that is, Brownie.
Hey.
Who invited us to that, Brownie? President of IPMS UK. Yes, it was rather an enjoyable conversation we had, let's put it that way. But more of that in the future.
Good stuff.
The other thing that I bought was something from 3D Gizmo.
Oh, go on.
I bought myself a 1/16th figure.
Have you actually got any vehicles in 1/16th?
Really? Oh, my God. Sorry.
No, I've never painted a figure, and 3D Gizmo take to the shows some substandard goods.
Oh, seconds. Yeah.
Seconds, yeah. So I've actually got myself a 3D figure in 16th, so I can actually have a play and actually see what I can come up with paint-wise. So I can have a play.
Is there something in the air at Bolton? So you go to Bolton and buy a figure.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Bolton and buy a massive Japanese canoe from our good friend James at Pondstone. Please, I got my Yamato from James. And Boulders, what did you buy near the end of the day? Come on. Now, this was straight out of left field. Come on.
1 to 16th M10 Achilles.
I'm going, was this from Gary?
Yeah.
Blimey.
Why?
So, as I've said to you, I'm a varied modeler, even though I've primarily I have done armour in the past. I actually, believe it or not, I actually won Model of the Month at Bolton with one that I did. And
Nobody turned up that month.
the Achilles is, I like American vehicles that have, and this may upset our cousins over the water, that have been
I think they got bigger problems at the moment.
finessed by British engineering. So my two favourite vehicles, obviously, that the US provided was the Sherman, and then the British did the beautiful little higgery-jiggery porker and turned it into a Firefly. So added 17-pounder on it. And then the other one is the M10 Achilles, again, because they had tweaked it, and obviously it was a harder hitter than the version of the M10.
Was that the Jackson?
Yeah, it was a Jackson. No, that's the M36, which is similar.
That's the M36, isn't it? Yeah, didn't the M36 have a 90mm gun rather than the 3-inch one that there's about 70? It's a 77mm caliber, isn't it? Because the 77mm gun on the Comet was a 17-pounder with a shorter shell case, I think, because of the recoil or something like that. But effectively, it's 77mm, but very high velocity.
So obviously, when they put the 17-pounder in the Sherman Fire and made it the Firefly, when they tested it, they smashed the back end out of it because
They punched the back end out.
Was that the one where it was canted over?
they had to rotate it, to get it in.
So who's the kit by? Who's the kit that you got from?
Andy's Hobbies headquarters. If you look behind me, if I just tip, I know it's them lights, the box is huge. So that will be done as a ambush tank destroyer. An ambush tank destroyer. So there's particular ones where they just went mad with camouflage. There was camouflage netting all over the barrel so they could hide it in.
I'm hoping I'm still alive when he's done this one.
Has it got full interior? I know it's got the top mantlet is open, but has it got full interior inside as well?
Got a teapot in there. Yeah, British tanks are the only ones with brew facilities, aren't they? Even now. Yeah.
Well, modern ones are.
I don't actually know. I don't think it's got the driver's compartment, but it's got the full centre. Yeah, they did.
Absolutely. Stop for tea and then reload.
So then, Dan, what did you buy at Bolton?
Well, I've been going on about it for ages, and I've wanted one for a long time. I took the plunge and finally got my 350th Yamato battleship, the Tamiya Premium Edition, and I'm looking at it now, and it's just so cool. I'm so happy with it. From our podcast brother Nevs, he did have some other stuff, and I had to be careful. And then right at the end of the day, well, near the end of the day, Boulder said to me, have you been over to Vince at Models for Sale? He's got a couple of Liberators over there. And as I've been banging on about as well on this podcast for ages, I am a massive fan of US heavy bombers. And I came away with two. One of them, which I'm told is a bit of a rare groove, is the Edward Liberating Beauties, which has got the Liberator B Mark 6 in it. And it's got 4 pin-up girl. It's got 4 schemes in it with all different pin-up girls, which is a nice boxing, bit of a rare groove, that one. And the other one is from Minicraft Model Kits, and it's the B24M Mama Fufu in the Burma Theatre. And it says,
I would have thought that was more rare.
That is more rare.
I think it is. It's still factory sealed in the plastic. So what do I do with this? Do I just break it open and build it, or do I have it as a collector's piece?
The thing is, though, Dan, I have never seen one of them built, and it was only released for it was 1 year, 95 to 96.
I had no idea they did an M.
I'll be honest with you, I assume they're going to. Airfix have got to do a coastal command of that Liberator. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Give it time. But you can ask a guest we've got coming on very shortly, because as one has seen the email today, Dale from Airfix has confirmed he's coming on the show.
Woohoo! Well, I'm going to doorstep him and say, come on, Dale.
Moving on swiftly, John,
Obviously, you haven't bought anything at Bolton, but what have you got on your bench at the moment?
What have I got on my bench? Well, the Ethics Spitfire 9 is still knocking around.
That's the South African one.
Yeah. I added some rocket launcher stubs from Edward Tempest, and I got some bomb shackles from a modelling mate. So I'm just trying to tie up some serials for squadron codes with that, because I think, as I said before, South Africans are a bit not very good at keeping a record of what was what. In the meantime, though, I started the Dora Wings P47B, a 148 scale one, which is actually a really nice little model. Yeah.
Has it gone together okay?
Yeah, it fits pretty well. But I've done a thing, well, which for the benefits of those viewing on the radio, as they used to say, well, I actually put the top wings onto the fuselage first, and then I've stuck the bottom wing halves on, because the dihedral on the P47 is really quite severe. And the way the wing joint is configured on this, it's really actually a bit of a fiddly joint. But if you don't put the bottom half on, you can actually get super glue inside it to make it a really nice, strong joint. And you get virtually zero gap along the top. But it does feature one of the things that I really, really despise when model up makers do this. The gun ports, there's separate little kind of gun panel inserts on the wing leading edges. And the thing is, okay, cliche upon cliche, if you're Tamiya, they will fit. If you're not Tamiya, they never fit.
And there's no need for that on a P47, because they were pretty much the same all the way through, weren't they? It was 450 cals or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is, because the guns run horizontally across the wing, the actual holes themselves stagger sort of diagonally through the wing, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Just notice. Yeah.
If you can, but yeah. So I guess you've got to find a way of sort of doing that. But if you're going to do that, be bold, do like a complete leading edge like that. So at least there isn't a little bit in there. It's just extra filling. And I mean, I don't mind doing it. It's only filling, but you assume it's a modern toolkit. You think it's going to fit. So, but everything else is really nice. The cockpit detail's really good. The intercooler exhausts, they've all got bits for them. There's nice photo etch. It's a good.
What's the engine like?
The engine's all right. I need some wiring, but I'll tell you what I did get the other day, which I mean, really meaning to get for ages. I got some of this art scale lead wire. Oh, fantastic. What a difference that makes, lead wire. I mean, you wash your hands afterwards, but I mean, it's just so nice.
Dan, you forgot your lead weight.
It's just so nice working with something that you don't have to anneal first to get any flexibility into it,
Is that a mixed pack, John, or is that what I've never used lead wire before, or is that a sort of?
No, they're all different. The ones I got in full clarity, I was given them to review, are all different. They're all 30 pieces of this is 0.3 mil, for instance.
They do different sections. They do small flat strips as well as the pipes and stuff.
Yeah, because on the big B17 engines, it's a big red chunky. I suppose it's the live wire would be the positive. I don't know if they're positive or negative earth, and I can't find a wire that's thick enough, but also it almost needs to do a 90-degree bend. So maybe that might be the way forward. I might have to.
ASK do it. Yeah, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6.
Yeah, and that's from ASK, is it? Right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is, I'm not amazingly used to using it, it's really easy to mark it with tweezers. It's so soft. I'm so used to using annealed copper, which is flexible but tough.
Oh, I used to use solder. Really fine solder. Really fine solder.
Yeah, I always found it, I could never really get it to.
It depends which one you get. You can get one that's got an inbuilt flux. Well, you don't want that one. You want the one without the flux.
Okay. I also bought Edward's new Avia 1S99, but this is the bubble canopy version, the sliding canopy one.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've got the other one.
Which I think anything with Chet markings looks fantastic. And it's a great.
Are you going to do a red-nosed one, or are you going to do one of the boring green ones?
I'm sorely tempted to do the red-nosed one.
You've got a choice of two red nose.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't quite decide yet. I mean, it's got.
Weren't they police?
Some of them were. They were used by the Air Force and then they were transferred to the police force, which I think the police force at the Czech police force was more like a border patrol. But interestingly, that sliding canopy wasn't something the Czechs came up with. It was apparently it was a Messerschmitt plan to equip the 109 with a sliding canopy, but the war finished before they could do it. So, and it really changes the sort of look of it, which I quite like.
And I'm assuming they're going to be in the mag at some point?
No, actually, they won't. The next thing that I think going to be in the magazine is either going to be a Roden 1/48 scale OV1 Mohawk.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Or...
Oh, I was talking to somebody a weekend who'd done one of them and said it was brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that might be delayed. Yeah. Or a special hobby. Oh, it's not the Siebel 103. It's whatever the French called the ones they built after the war. It's like the twin engine, Argus engine, little stubby, wide bodied trainer.
Yeah, with a Heinkel light front end.
Yeah. But the French used them in North Africa and put rockets on them. In fact, there was a ground attack version.
Ooh la la.
Is that the 48th?
Yeah, they put 4 machine guns underneath the bubble canopy and launched unguided rockets from the wings, used them in Algeria. So that might be the next one on.
Cool. And what have you bought recently?
I do occasionally buy models rather than build ones for review. And the editor is...
Yeah, you'll tell us anything.
The editor is quite nice. He will actually let me build ones that I buy and put them in the magazine rather than, what he gets sent. So, but I'm going to hopefully go to South Africa in about a month and a half's time. So there'll be plenty of time to do a bit more aircraft photography while I'm there. So that's good.
Oh, sounds very good. You're going to have to record from South Africa then.
Well, there we go. By the pool.
Exactly. Well, with that then, we will actually take a short commercial break.
Visit scalemodelpodcast.com, your hub for the best scale modelling pods, because finding great content shouldn't take longer than hunting for lost photo etch. Please support Models for Heroes, as sometimes building a scale model can help rebuild a person. Visit modelsforheroes.org.uk.
So, for this episode, we are joined by 2 experts in the field of building to a deadline. So, we've got the fantastic Steph and some bloke called Skiff. Good evening, chaps. Hello.
Evening. Before we get going, obviously, I knew I was coming, and thanks for the invite, Brownie, and nice to see you all. I got some treats for the Whippets. Where do I put those?
Just hand them over. Just hand gone. Go, boy. Fetch.
Oh, not... Get down. That's not the treat I brought. Get down.
Before we actually started recording, you were doing the Scouse impression. We were asking Bolgers for what he thought of it, because it was so close to his own.
I'm not a Scouser.
Well, yeah.
And just to let you know, I keep pigeons.
Yeah. And they're always up to mischief because there's always a coup.
Ooh. Oh, God. I feel like overwhelmed. I gotta be honest. Yeah. Oh, pigeons. Right, okay. That's interesting. I might talk to you another day about pigeons because I've got a project later that involves pigeons. But yeah. Anyway. So yeah, thanks for inviting us.
What a plucking nuisance. You're very welcome. Anyway, Steph, you obviously haven't been on the show before. Perhaps you can tell our audience a little bit about your modelling background.
My modelling background, I started in the 70s. I used to pop into my local village, buy a model, make the bag in there, put a zip line in the back garden, fill the bag with lighter fluid, set fire to it, and let it go down the zip line. Excellent.
Don't recommend you doing that at home, children. Not these days.
Oh, no. And if you're going to do it, it's under supervision. Well, then that was sort of foreshadowing my time in the Air Force, where I used to blow things up for a living. But I also modelled when I was in the Air Force, and the guys will come in, take the mick out of me, something rotten.
Well, you said you blew things up. You obviously worked in the officers' mess then.
No, I was an armourer. Worked on weapon systems. No, they're called fitters and turners.
Fair enough.
They fit it into pans and turn it in. Anyway, yeah. So I did that, and guys would stick their head around the corner and go, "Yeah, what are you doing? Making a model? Why? How's it coming along? Yeah, it's all right. Want to have a look? Yeah. How do you, what? There?" And they'd always come in and just take the mic and then be really interested in it. And then I came out and I stopped for about 7 or 8 years. Then I started again in about 2010 and just carried on from there. I was medically retired in 2018 due to CRPS in my left leg, which is complex regional pain syndrome. So I'm broken physically, and that had a knock-on effect and broke me mentally. So my whole life changed. So I went from being a breadwinner to being a stay-at-home cook, cleaner, driver, all that lot. And I heard about Models for Heroes through a friend of mine. He put me onto them. I contacted Malcolm, became a beneficiary for about 6 weeks, and then went straight into being a volunteer and haven't looked back since then. So I host the online shows on a Wednesday and a Monday, and I also host the Sunday shows when Malcolm's not available. I do loads of model shows, so all around my local area. And yeah, that's how I've become what I am today, doing all this.
Can I just ask, what is your local area? Whereabouts, sir? Where are you based?
I live in just outside Northampton, a place called Rushton, and I go as far west as Hinckley and as far east as Littleport, down to, oh good lord, what's the name of the place?
London.
Yeah, London, that's it. That there's Smoke, and up to Leicester. So I do that sort of area, and there's several other guys that join in with us and do it. So yeah, luckily the wife's also a volunteer, so she's my carer. She comes and makes sure I don't do anything stupid. Nothing new. But between her and Models for Heroes, it's stopped me from doing something stupid. If it wasn't for any of those two, I would be swinging from a tree somewhere. The money we raise, when we tell people it saves lives, they don't actually believe us because you can see it in their face. Yeah, of course. No, really, it does. It saves lives. And I'm proof of that. I wanted to be a psychotherapist. So I did my psychology degree, but worked out that I'd be 65 before I was able to do it. So I'm a fully qualified counsellor. I'm a mental health first aider through Models for Heroes, and doing what I do, I help more people than I ever could becoming a psychotherapist.
Fantastic. And you mentioned a show that you do. Where can people actually find that show, or how can they get involved with it?
Models for Heroes, we only go out live on a Sunday. That's from 11 o'clock, usually till about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Sometimes it has been known to go over.
On YouTube?
Yep. On the Monday and Wednesday ones, we only do it to the Models for Heroes Modelers Mess, which is just for beneficiaries.
Gotcha.
So we have a big wide one on a Sunday, but we keep it small on a Monday and a Wednesday.
Gotcha. Okay, and those timings are obviously UK times.
Yes, they're UK times. So Monday is 11, Wednesday's 12, and Sunday's 11. So if you're a beneficiary or want to become a beneficiary, then drop Models for Heroes a line. You can get to their website, which is all the W's on Models for Heroes. That's letters.org.uk. And there's details on there where you can sign up.
And that's for as in FOR, not the number.
Yep. No, not the number. Whereas you'll hear us talk about M4H. So that's us shortening it.
Yes.
A lot easier than keep saying Models for Heroes.
Indeed. So with that, we've also on the line got Mr. James Skiffins.
Hello.
Just making conversation and hobnob aficionado.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm very, very disappointed that the green room didn't have any hobnobs, actually. Just want to make that point. Anyway, yeah, you guys will know me. Yeah, put them down, Steph. Yeah, oh, fig rolls?
Can't help it.
Ban him. Ban him.
Oh, sorry, I've got to agree. Fig rolls are good.
That's like abuse. Honestly.
James, I need the movement, mate. I need the movement.
You look full. In fairness, you do look full. Fair enough.
Especially after this weekend.
Yeah.
Full of it, yes.
So you guys know me from Just Making Conversation. Obviously, I've got my own YouTube channel and Facebook group, which is the Model Officer YouTube channel, Model Officer's Mess Facebook group. Been going for almost it's 9 years now for the Facebook group.
Yeah.
The YouTube channel's not that far behind it actually either, because I started the Facebook group and then realised that I tell a lie. The YouTube channel's actually older than the Facebook group, because I started that first and realised I wanted to give something away, but didn't know how to do that on YouTube, so I created a Facebook group. Anyway, so we're coming up for our 9th birthday, and the reason you dragged me here, in fact, actually, it's not really dragged me, I dragged Steph, and we forced our way in to talk about a very exciting event that's done every year for our birthday, the Model Officer's birthday, or Model Officer's Mess birthday, which is called the 48 and 48, which strangely, because it involves 48 hours with 72 hours worth of live streaming. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but anyway, it will do, promise. And you can build a model kit in that 48 hours, which could be a 1/48 scale model, or in fact, any scale model you want whatsoever. And you don't actually have to finish it within 48 hours. So yeah, you can see where I'm coming from.
Absolutely. So how long have you been actually running 48 and 48?
So the 48 and 48 started actually, the celebration, the birthday bash started 9 years ago in March. The actual 48 and 48 is actually just a year younger, but we, like everybody, we always increase it by a year because, we look older than we actually are.
Not in your case. You are a lot older than you look.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously. All right, no need. Blimey. Oh, he's put me right off. Put me off strike.
Oh, keep going, James. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. Where's my script? Brownie, pass it over.
Last time you were having a go at us is our revenge.
Oh, yeah, no, I fully expected it. I've got a little post-it note in here. Take a breath. Give them an opportunity. That's just there in front of me. So, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so it's been going for, let's say, 9 years. And every year we try different things. Mainly for the last 6 years or so, what we try to do is make it bigger and bolder every year. We're succeeding every year over hand over fist. So, yeah, it's a good event. Ask me a question.
And from memory, last year's event, obviously you're raising funds for Models for Heroes.
Yes.
It was around about, just over £16,000 that was raised?
It was indeed, yeah. That was double the year previous as well. So we are on a very steep incline in the way we are gathering momentum. So far, year on year, generally speaking, we're around about 40 to 50% increase on what we raised for Models for Heroes, which is fantastic. And the coverage, as I said earlier or alluded to earlier, is 72 hours. And the reason for that is we use 3 different time zones. So the event starts, or this year will start on the 20th of March at 1930 hours, whatever time zone you're in. So our colleagues down in Australia, we let them out of the jail and they kick things off. Funny enough, 1930 on Friday, the 20th of March is when they'll kick it off. And then they'll do a couple of shows, 4-hour stints, and then it'll be handed over to the guys in Europe and UK, where we will start, guess what, at time?
1930 by any chance?
There you go, on the 20th of March, well done. And then we'll carry on for a little while, and then we'll hand over to our colleagues over in the States as well. So that's why it's 72 hours, is because once you go over the time zones, it becomes 72 hours. So yeah, it's full of fun, lots of camaraderie, laughing and joking, swearing, off camera, of course. And that's all broadcast live on my YouTube channel, Model Officer.
Well, we will be involved in one way or another.
Mm.
Your host down in Australia, you've got Ian from On the Bench?
Yes, so the hosts this year, I believe, if I just go over to the website, which is 48-48.org, you can click on the link that says host and it will show you. We've got Ian Kaiser from On the Bench, John Marley, who is a wonderful, wonderful guy. He's an honorary beneficiary of Models for Heroes. Callum Parker, which is probably a name you all know. Greg Everton, again, a name that you probably know. And Jeffrey, can't think of his surname. I'm doing really well. Sorry?
Riley.
There we go. That's our 5 from Australia. And then because basically we don't want to scare people too much, we've sent Steph down to be with them, because the face of radio is better down under than it is in full view, clearly.
Yeah, we will move on very swiftly from there. Okay, who are the hosts in Europe then?
So Europe and the UK at the moment, as it stands, is my good self, Carl Smith, Steve Spencer Beanie, Lisa Smith, and the wonderful Graham Pearson, who you'll probably know from back in the day. So yeah, I think that's who we've got yeah, I think that's who we've got for this year. Yeah, we'll hand over to our USA and Canadian hosts, who will be the lovely Scott Gentry, Darren Cook, Bob Blair, Grant Maybury, Jim Bates, and the wonderful John Bonani.
Okay, so you've got a good crew to actually look after the show. So obviously the idea is to build online, or is it just to watch, or how do you participate?
Wow, there's lots of ways in which you participate. So basically, the idea is that you've got 48 hours from 1930 on the 20th of March to build a model kit that's not been started. Now, the reason I say it that way is because that is really the only rule, is that we ask you to start a fresh kit or figure or whatever. In the 48 hours, if you want to, and it is plausible that you can finish the model and put it on a base, in a diorama, all sorts. So it is possible. A lot of people think I'm completely insane when I say that, but you'd be surprised. But you don't have to finish it. There's no stipulation that you must finish it.
Okay.
And the reason we do that is because I don't want people under pressure. Because the problem with the 48-hour challenge is that people believe that they've got to stay up for the 48 hours, and that's 100% not the case. We will remind you all the way through the weekend. Go to bed, get up, go and have something to eat, go and have something to drink. Make sure you said hello to the wife because she's very important. She's supporting you and all that sort of stuff. And then get to sleep, get some rest, because it's really, really important. We don't want anyone to be ill from the event. We want you to be part of it, but we don't want you to be ill. There's no reason for that. However, if you can't spare the weekend to join us by watching us online on the YouTube channel, or if you want to, you can get involved with our friends from the Discord group, which is Friends for Models for Heroes. They all have an open hangout in which you can drop in. You can talk to beneficiaries, you can talk to volunteers, you can sit and make some models, abuse each other in a nice, fun way, not literally, obviously, build some models and have a bit of a crack, you know what I mean? So that's there as well for you. So you can pop in and out. You can, if you've got 30 minutes, pop in for 30 minutes, say hello. You don't have to build a model. You can just be there and say hello. That in itself is wonderful. And then, of course, the other ways in which you can help is by making a donation. So say, for example, you've got your wife's birthday at the weekend, Mr. Goldfinch. That's not a problem. You can just make a donation and then obviously make sure you're doing the right thing and celebrating birthdays and stuff.
Is he making that excuse again?
No, I don't think he is this year, in all fairness. I think Mrs. Goldfinch has told him that she's had enough of him.
Fair enough. Understandable.
Yeah, it's fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, in all fairness, Dave has always been a great supporter of the event, and time, like for all of us, is limited at times. Last year, he did manage to be with us for a little bit longer than previous years. And the problem with this event, I think, and Steph will back me up on this, is you dip your toe in, and before you know it, you're up to your neck. There is no getting away from it. It will hook you. You will enjoy it. And you will go, God, when is the next one? So you can donate through the Just Giving page, which again, that's on the website, 48-48.org. Click the button that says donate, or donate now, actually, it says. And that will take you to two links. One is for the Just Giving page and one is for a PayPal thing. So you can drop whatever you like into that. Or, of course, and one of the reasons I've got the Wrangler with me today is that we do an auction in all the time zones. So obviously we do one in the UK, our brothers in Australia and Australasia, because I must make sure I say that. New Zealand and Australia will be dropping some amazing bombs this year in their auction. And as well as the guys in the US and Canada have always dropped loads of bombs during their auction. So there's lots of ways in which you can donate, but also benefit too. You can pick up snipes and bits and pieces that you don't want Darren to get, for example, or Scott. Just make sure you keep sniping and getting the stuff they want. That's always fun to watch. And there's some bargains to be had. But there are also, 9 times out of 10, there's also things in which you generally won't be able to get off the shelf. So it's worth tuning in for that as well. So lots of ways in which you can get involved.
Okay. So Steph, what things have we got to look forward to in the auctions then?
Well, I've just had a quick tot up. Last year, we had...
Can I just stop you a second really quick? This is just between us, right? You're not going to broadcast this bit, surely?
Oh, good grief. What a drama queen. Carry on, Steph, before you were rudely interrupted.
Well, nothing new there. I'm used to it with James. Yeah, last year we had 15 donors. Mm-hmm. We call them donors because they are donating kits, tools, paints, all sorts. we don't accept from individuals,
Mhm.
because if we accepted it from individuals, we'd end up like Models Pharaoh's HQ. We'd need a warehouse to store everything because people are that generous.
Yeah.
So it's always from businesses, shops, model companies, things like that. So you'll see what I mean as I go through. So last year we had 15 donors. This year we've got 30. We've doubled the amount of donors.
Fantastic.
This is in no particular order. Last year, these are the people that are coming back. Airfix, Rubicon, EBMA, The Hobby Company, Revell, SMS Paints, Salisbury Model Centre, Tiger Models, ICM, Edward, Model U, The Crafting, Masons Models, and Modelers United. So they're companies that have been with us at least 2 years. People like Airfix, Rubicon, SMS Paints, Salisbury Model Centre, they've been with us for 5 years. Same with Masons Models and Modelers United. They've been a continuous supporter. And the ones we've got coming in this year are Gizmo 3D, Das Werk, Airscale, Couture, Albinas, Top Notch Masks, Cosmic Scale Models, Hinkley Model Store, DBMK, Airfix Magazine, Ultimate Modelling Products, Model Works, Zukimura, and Guideline Publications. Thank you, Jonathan. So, yeah, do you want me to go through some of the kits we've got, James? And some of the stuff?
You're the wrangler.
Okie dokie. Right, for example, we have Airfix, we've got the new Jag, the new Alvis, a couple of other models. Rubicon, I think we've got about 20 kits from them. And what we do is we put them into relevant sets. We'll have a World War II set. We'll have a World War II German. We'll have a Vietnam set, a Korea set, things like that. So they're all relevant to each other. Revell, they've given us their Cotissar. We've got 2 of those, along with everything else. So what we'll do is we'll put a Land, Sea and Air one together with what they've given us. So Model U, they've told us, we'll give you a gift card. Come along, wherever you are. If we're close, you come along, tell us who you are, and we'll do you a complete body scan, which is absolutely fantastic. Edward, the stuff they give us is ridiculous. It's always their new kits. They're always highlighting their new kits. The new ones we've got coming in, we've got pen holders, pencil holders. What else was there? The sprue holders. They've given us one of their new Panther House FGs. Airscale, we've got the Bob and Paul Defiant from them. Couture, we're just waiting for confirmation on that, but we think it's the 109 from them.
Yeah, we're not sure. But we've got an awful lot of stuff in which those that know me know that I like to tease a little bit. And over the next 5 or 6 weeks, we will be dropping some teasers and some hooks for you all to do with the auction. And that will go through the website in the news section, the 48-48.org website. And we'll get it over the media as well. So, yeah, we've been very, very lucky. Sorry to cut you off, Steph, but we've been very lucky with our donators and the support. And this year is a remarkable difference in that we have had quite a few companies come to us and ask, can we get involved? So that recognition from the industry itself is humbling. I think the biggest phrase I could use for that is quite phenomenal.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, if you can actually make sure you share what you're teasing on your socials onto ours as well, more than happy to share it out to all of our benchmates.
Yeah, I will. And what I would say to your benchmates as well is if you see something, pass it on, share it, because you're part of a great community here on the podcast anyway, and it's a great event. So why wouldn't you shout and scream about it? Get involved, get signed up, and the more the merrier.
Steph, after the rude interruption from your presenter.
Top Notch Rice, they're going to be giving us an airbrush. Keith at Cosmic. Yeah, there's lots of stuff coming in. DBMK, yeah, there's only one thing that they can donate to us. And the one we're getting is extremely special.
Bless him. He's under strict orders to be careful and not give too much away. So I do apologise.
Let me just say their first one was raffled off at Telford.
Gotcha. I know exactly what you mean, but we'll wait for the socials to actually hit the press for that one.
Yeah, that is an amazing one from Ilya there. We've got Airfix magazine. They've given us some subscriptions. UMP, Lee.
Who's a great supporter of the charity anyway, Lee, UMP products.
500 quid's worth of kit is donated. And also Tsukimura. I just love their kits. Absolutely stunning. And we've got a pretty new release as well from them. Also, what we're doing as well this year is something Vlad Edward suggested. We're talking to him at Belford, and he said, "Can I come on?" And he's an imposing bloke. Yeah, of course. We'll check with James. And had a chat with James. And it's like, okay. So what we decided is we're inviting donors to come on to a live stream and have a chat with us. We can have a chat with them, thank them. So fingers crossed we'll have most of our donors coming on and having a chat with us at some time, which I'm really looking forward to.
That sounds really good. So the list you've given us, I can take it, is just the UK list.
That's just us.
Yeah.
So you've still obviously got the Oceania area, as they're now referred to, and the Americas.
Oh, yeah.
But there's something you've actually missed off the list, Steph. There's another one.
Okay, why am I looking at you, James, and what haven't you told me?
He's forgotten already. That's nothing new there. Yeah, you know how useful it is at times.
Where am I?
Yeah, exactly. We are offering it into the mix if you want to donate enough money to actually come on to our show as a co-host.
Wow.
Now, if you don't pay enough, you go on just making conversation.
No, yeah, don't want to do that.
Yeah. So you got the booby prize, but
A better green room, in fairness, but, you know, yeah, that's the only positive.
so we are offering the person that offers the most will come onto the show for an episode when we record. We will find out what the person's interested in subject-wise. So to give you a clue, we're interviewing for this episode some guy called Lincoln Wright.
Oh, Lincoln.
He's coming on the show. So what we will do is find out what the person who's bid the most is into, and we'll find a suitable guest to have a conversation with as well.
I love it, Ma.K. You're not worthy. You're not worthy.
Oh, dangerous.
Oh, that is so unfair.
Anyway, that's what we're offering into the mix. So if you want to come onto the show,
Very generous.
go on to 48 in 48, bid as much as you can afford. And if you don't bid that much, then obviously you're going to go on to just making conversations, the bargain bucket version.
Thank you very much indeed.
But we have a large audience in Oceania. We have a large audience in the Americas. So if you would like to offer your compatriots in those two regions the same, we're happy to have one from each onto the show.
Okay. We'll throw that into the mix. That's very generous. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Anything we can do to help, we will.
The other lots, the other auction lots, so Scott and Darren, they generally keep it quite close to the chest. So I don't generally know what they're doing. I have full, complete trust in them.
Mm-hmm.
They've never let me down yet. They just let them do what they want to do. And last year they raised in their auction a phenomenal amount.
Yes.
Phenomenal. I'll be totally honest, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what that was, but it was a large proportion.
I think it was close to about £8,000.
Yeah, I think it was. It was a very large proportion of our total. And they know without me saying, but I will say it, I'm forever grateful for the support they've given me and the team from Model Geeks and the Plastic Posse. They've always been right behind us. And you'll note there is sort of a theme, funnily enough, with this thing, with the live, is that we've got a lot of podcasts involved. And strangely enough, I wouldn't say we've been lax. We haven't expanded that as much as we should, because there's a lot more model making podcasts out there now than there was when we started it. We are conscious of that, and I'm mainly saying it for Rob, because I'm sure Rob will be listening, because he tells me every year that he's not been invited, and I do invite him. I want him there, but it's just remembering putting stuff. And just while we're talking about remembering stuff, you know, I'm an old man and I can't remember what I had for tea, let alone what was in the cup I just picked up. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, there you go.
Fantastic.
So I can't tell you anything more than that. And the Australian guys with their auction, all I can tell you is this year is Mr. Marley is in full control of that. And he's up and running, and he is really going at a pace. I think every day I've had a message saying, oh, we've got this, or this person's going to help. I'm again, lucky in the fact that I've got a really good team around me who have nagged me for many years to release control, in fairness, but they're a very good team around me that I can just leave to it. So it'll become a surprise for me as well for those two areas, which makes the whole 72 hours more exciting for me too. So there we go.
And not only the money-making routes are already devout, but you've got merch as well.
Oh, always got merch. This year is so much more than last year. We have got four different design t-shirts. We've got 2 different design aprons. We've got 2 different headwear, a bucket hat and a cap. We haven't got the shower curtain, which we did promise last year, but we just can't get the right material. And if I'm honest, the biggest problem we've got is getting that silhouette of Balcom on the shower curtain. It's something to do with royalties and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, but the merch team are talking about that. We've got mugs, obviously, water bottles, the usual suspects. And this year we are going with a UK company called T-Shirt Studio, who have allowed us to create a marketplace which is dedicated for the 48 and 48. So all of the products there in one place and they ship around the world. So and we used Redbubble last year, which was super. It was the first year I didn't have all the stuff come to my house, so I had to ship it out, which was really, really nice. But we've gone with a UK base because they helped us start the previous year, and we thought what we tend to do, right? And this is really, really important I say this because it's one of the things I always forget to say is the whole point of having the 48-48.org website is that it allows us to advertise, but it also allows us to continually advertise throughout the year the people that have supported us. Now that could be the donors from manufacturers to shops to all that sort of stuff, and even the model makers themselves. So we have always driven very hard about promoting the community, and that involves the people we buy stuff from as much as the people that buy stuff. So when you build something, you send me a picture and it goes up on the website and it stays there. It was going to stay there for a year, but I've now decided it's going to stay there for eternity. So you can go on the website and see all those lucky people that gave me a picture of where they got to within that 48 hours. Up on the website, there are some that didn't provide them, but I still put their names up because that's really important. And we've got a sign up button on the first page, which that's where I get the information for the website. So if you've signed up, give me the picture, your name goes up there and you're celebrated as much as everyone else's efforts. So yeah, I think the merch is really special this year. Really, really special. It's taken quite a lot of time with it. Carl is our merch expert, Carl Smith. We come up with a design, and there's a difference between this year and others is that there is a special message with the t-shirts. And by that, there is no this event on this day, whatever. It's just the logo, which I'm going to send you, Brownie. And on the back is just one word. And it's basically to do with what model making does for you, for your mental health, and what Models for Heroes does for veterans and people that are working in the service industries, be it military or civilian, because they support both. You know, we all start our modelling process, don't we, where we're sat in a dark room by ourselves or on a dinner tray in front of a telly and all that, and we're sort of in the dark. You know, you can't really talk about it. It's a secret thing I do. It's not our white lemonade or anything, but it's not far off, let's be honest. And then you get to know those communities online, you get involved with those communities, you start coming out of the darkness, you start to be seen, you start to be recognised for what you're doing and all that sort of stuff. So there are 4 words that we use for that, and they are on the back of the t-shirt. And the t-shirt is specifically designed that you put it on, you go to a show and someone looks at it and goes, I quite like a t-shirt, what's that all about? And you have the opportunity then to say, Models for Heroes, 48 and 48, it's an amazing thing, get involved, blah, 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 blah. You become our advert. Not the t-shirt, you become the advert, because you are promoting the community in which you're part of. And that's super, super important to me and to the hobby, that we all take the time to be proud of what we do.
So, James, we've got all the merch, we've got all the auctions. There's one other piece to the puzzle, which is coming via Airfix.
Yes. So this year, super excited to be able to say that Airfix support Models for Heroes massively already. But Dale's been very kind to acknowledge us, if you like, on their website, on the Airfix website. And to do that, what we've done is we've come up with a little bundle, basically, 3 kits. And for every purchase of that bundle, Models for Heroes get an extra 100 flying points direct to them donated. So that equates to around about 4 kits donated for every 3 that you buy.
That's not bad going.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Last year we did Sherman and the Spitfire as a choice. And I was talking to Dale about it. We didn't necessarily say go to Airfix, but he had a bundle of Spitfires and I had to keep changing it because they kept running out of stock. I teased him and said to him, I'd love to be able to do that again. Let's try that again. And this is the comeuppance, if you like, of that deal. So, yeah, a big thank you to Dale. A big thank you for his support all year round anyway.
Mm.
Because obviously when you have your Airfix kits and you save up those flying hours, you can send them to Malcolm, and Malcolm then sends them on to Dale. And they have a special volunteer that's just purely there to lick the stamps of the flying hours onto the books, apparently. So Malcolm tells me, well, I don't know if that's true, but yeah.
Well, he had nothing to do after the Green Shield stamps finished, so might as well.
I think that might be what it is, yeah. It might be someone that has moved over. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, it's just under the £40 mark for 3 kits, and I think it's a bargain. I got to be honest, you get the 172nd Shannon class lifeboat, you get the 135th Ferret Scout, which is a relatively new kit. What was that, last year or year before? Same with the Shannon class, that's not that old either. And then you get the 148th Curtis P40B, which is a lovely kit in itself anyway. So you're getting around about 50-something% off, I believe.
The figure you should know because it's 48% off.
It's not quite, I don't think. Oh, is it on there? Oh.
It says 48.
There you go.
Come on, I actually did my research.
Do you know what? I looked on there and I could have sworn blind it wasn't. But here you go, yeah, 48% off. He's given a shout out on the website for Models for Heroes as well, which I think, I'm not sure, but I think that's a first from Dal, and I've taken it as a very big acknowledgement of what we achieve for Models for Heroes through the event, but also more importantly, that the event is something that is supported by industry as well. So that's a bit of kudos, and I'm very grateful for Dale for doing that.
Yep, and the code, if you go to the Airfix website, is bundle A99.
Here we go.
And it's £39 instead of $74.97. So you are getting a good bargain, and it does say 48% off the RRP. So there you go. It is the Model for Heroes 48-hour build bundle.
Yeah, it's a great deal. And I have teased Dale and said to him, I'm going to giggle so much if we sell out, if they sell out of these items. And he's almost dared me to try and make that happen. So listeners, if you're listening, buy it. Because not only are you effectively doing a donation, you're getting 3 lovely kits as well. And one of the reasons for this bundle being chosen was that every year we have a sort of a very loose theme. I mean, obviously when we started the thing off, it had to be a 148th kit. That's not the case anymore. But the theme this year is land, sea and air. So hence why you've got a little bit of everything there. And what I really like about this bundle as well is that the skill levels are all taken care of as well in the different builds. The Shannon class lifeboat is meant to be a really good kit to make. The Ferret is as well, and I know that the P40 is as well because I've done that myself. I haven't done the Ferret and I haven't done the Shannon class. They're all really good kits.
And of course, you could actually give the Shannon class to a junior member of the family because it's actually a starter set. So you've actually got the glue, you've got brushes, and you've got paint in the barn box as well.
That's it. And if you go back 9 years, that's how we started this thing. It was meant to be a family event. And it's what it still is. We do have people that are building with their family, with their granddad and dad and daughter, and 3-4 generations we've had in the past. So yeah, I mean, that covers everything in that one little bundle. So yeah, I'm so chuffed to be able to bring that to the table this year.
Cool. Okay, so for clarity, the website is figure 4, figure 8, the minus sign, figure 4, figure 8.org.
Correct. Can I just say very, very quickly, it is just a little bit about what the money did this year. Is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Right, cool. We mentioned earlier that we raised over £16,000 for the charity Models for Heroes. We are partly responsible, but that amount of money is partly responsible for the fact that they have managed to move premises from a small unit to a bigger unit, a much more organised and better for what they do unit. At the time, they had a small unit. They also had four containers that they use to store the models. That they're now, I think they're down to one, or they may even got rid of the last one. I'm not sure yet. But I mean, that in itself has saved them a great deal of rent, and also it's much more easy for them to get the kits out to the beneficiaries and all that sort of stuff. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say we are directly responsible, because I don't think that's true. But I'm aware that this year alone has an increase of over 400 beneficiaries, of which if we hadn't raised that money for them, they wouldn't have be able to support those 400 plus people with what Models for Heroes does. So that's the impact that you are having by getting involved in this event. You are changing lives, you are saving lives, and you are promoting something in which you love. So I can't think of any reason why you don't want to get involved. And I thank you all for your time.
Not a problem. A pleasure. And as I said, come back afterwards. Let us know how you went on, and we'll have another chat then.
Amazing.
Steph, James, thank you very much for your time. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And also, we'll see you over the weekend of March the 20th.
Indeed you will.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you looking for top quality paints for your next project? Then look no further than the Scale Modeler Supply. Hi, I'm Scott, and as a passionate modeler myself, I've spent years creating the SMS product range, designing them specifically with a scale modeler in mind. We've worked extensively to develop our acrylic lacquer paint range to not only be airbrush ready straight out of the bottle, but also to be very easy to use so that anyone of any skill level can create professional results with minimal effort. Just give the bottle a good shake, pour into your airbrush and spray at 15 psi. So dive into your next project with confidence, knowing that you're backed by one of the finest hobby paints on the market. Head over to our website scalemodeler.com.au to check out our full range and to find your closest retailer.
And now, the Guideline Publications monthly update with John Tabiner, with what's in March's magazines, including SAM, MMI, and much, much more.
So for this episode, we are joined by John Tabiner again from Guideline Publications with all the goodies that are coming out in print for the March editions of the magazines, which will be available in February. So let's start off, I believe, with MMR.
Yes, indeed. In the March issue of Military Modelcraft International, which hits the shelves on the 19th of February, or the day before if you're a subscriber, there is a bit of a Panzer Jager theme this month. Starting with a super detailed build of Tamiya's 148th Nashorn. For those who don't know, that was a German Second World War tank destroyer. That also features in the first part of an in-depth Armour in Profile article, which has some previously unpublished images of the said Nashorn. So that will be of interest, I think, to a lot of AFV modelers. Also of interest, again, because German stuff is always up there with AFV modelers, there's an Eastern Front diorama which features Dragon's 135th scale Marder 2 tank destroyer, or self-propelled gun, actually, sorry. In small scale, 1/72nd, there are two builds which kind of cover almost the start and the very up-to-date now of the AFV world. From the First World War, we have Rodin's Omnibus, British Omnibus, used to ferry troops to the Somme in 1916. And then from Vespid, Rheinmetall's KF-51 main battle tank, which is a fourth generation version of the Leopard, using a 130mm auto-loading cannon in a new turret. And I think had some interest from countries like Hungary. I think quite a lot's expected of that. Moving on, the cover feature this month is the Cold War stalwart, the M551A1 Sheridan, the TTS version. That is shown in its use in the first Gulf War, a war which is somewhat now consigned to the history books, but a lot of us obviously remember it. I remember watching it on the TV in my room at university when it went live. So that should be a really good article. Large-scale 1/16 models feature this month Gecko's Panzer II F and also their Sherman M4A3 Easy 8 in the markings of Thunderbolt 7 under the title, of course, Colonel Abraham's Last Ride. I know both those kits have been very popular, so it'd be well worth getting the magazine to see how they're produced and built up. As ever, there are the usual news and reviews, and the magazine finishes with an exclusive interview with Canadian modeler Pat Johnston. So all in all, another packed issue and definitely worth looking out for on that one.
I don't know if I actually told you I'm post the recording, John, but I've actually taken out a subscription to MMI, which Rob Riv will actually be absolutely crying over. Hands up, I'm normally aviation all the way through. I am building an M1A1 Abrams at the moment, but more woes of that back in episode 20. But the information you can actually get in that magazine and techniques for an aircraft modeler, for weathering, for distressing, for things that you wouldn't normally think of, is well worth picking up a copy just to actually have a look and see what's going on from their side, to get a different attack on this, a different genre.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we've seen the kind of crossover, I think, in the last few years of a lot of AFV weathering techniques into the modeling, into the aircraft modeling world. But I mean, I don't particularly build AFVs much anymore. I did when I was a teenager, but I like reading other magazines about other genres. It's all modeling, it's all interesting. And as you say, you can always pick up new ideas. You can always pick up kind of new ways to sort of approach subjects. And with the historical articles, they're just interesting reads. You never know. I've got 2 comets in the loft, which I keep meaning to build. And so one day some tracks will appear on my workbench. There you go.
And talking of going off the tracks, scale aircraft modelling.
So yeah, scale aircraft modelling, again, hits the newsstands on the 19th of Feb or the day before if you're a subscriber. The aircraft in profile in the March issue is the Henschel 123. That's the pre-war and World War II Luftwaffe biplane ground attack aircraft, which is a very interesting little aircraft, actually. Was well loved by the Luftwaffe and would have seen a lot more service had the RLM not decided that it was a bit outdated in 1939 and made Henschel break all the jigs and tooling up, which, considering that the Luftwaffe then spent the rest of the war asking for more of them, was obviously a bit of a mistake. But the article does kind of does reveal that the Luftwaffe were quite capable of making quite hideous mistakes when it came to some of their aircraft procurement. We've also, obviously, that features the Spanish Civil War markings and, of course, the Chinese nationalist markings, which if anyone is mad enough to try, we'd love to hear from you. The colour conundrum in March's issue looks at RAF emergency war schemes from 1951 to 1959. I haven't had the chance to proof that yet, so I'm not quite sure what Paul is going to reveal to us in that one, but as ever, it's bound to be quite interesting and exciting. And I'm sure if you've got any kind of early post-war RAF aircraft and you're wondering what kind of scheme to do it in, well worth the read, because there'll be something interesting there. There's quite a lot of 1/72nd scale, actually, in the March issue. For those who feel that the gentleman's scale is not covered enough, which is a criticism we often receive. But as we say, if you build 1/72nd scale models, then send us some articles and we'll publish them. Just to prove the point, in the final part of our Malayan emergency series, we have Steve Danucci's Airfix Spitfire 19 in 1/72nd scale. That's the cover feature this month. We also have Focke-Wulf 190 AAR2 from Edward, and we have a Marchetti SF260 from Special Hobby as well. That's a little Italian trainer. There's a very interesting article from Israeli correspondent Yoav Rati on converting Airfix's B-17G Flying Fortress into one of the 1948 Israeli Mickey Mouse bombers, which were purchased covertly in Central America, flown to Czechoslovakia, reconverted to bombers, and then they actually bombed the Royal Palace in Cairo on the delivery flight from Czechoslovakia to Israel, and then were used in the 1948-49 war against the Arab states. That's finished in a sort of 3-colour, rather patchily applied scheme.
Interesting fun fact on the B-17 for the Israelis. They nearly had another one. They nearly bought Sally B, the flying B-17 from Eli Salingbo, to go to the Israeli Air Force Museum.
Really?
And it was very close to becoming off before Ellie decided no, she was going to keep it.
Gosh. I didn't know that.
But it nearly went to Israel. There you go.
Wow. Well, there we go. Well, they bought 4 of these, but one of them was impounded in the Azores, I think, on the delivery flight because it was all meant to be covert, but news got out. So there were 3 that saw action. And apparently they used to change the markings after each mission to try and hoodwink the opposition into thinking they had fleets of the things. So, yeah. The final 1/72nd scale subject in this month's issue is the consolidated PBY4 Catalina. That's the Academy kit. That's always a popular subject, I know. Moving up in scale to 1/48th, we have 2 main features this month. We have a MiG-17F from Ammo. That's finished in a Syrian Air Force scheme by Manu Gill, who shows you how to do an immaculately weathered desert scheme. Really, really good bit of modelling and well worth just having a look at the way he uses techniques there to kind of not overdo things, but create a really subtle kind of finish. And then there's also Japan's, we bought the F-16 and put it on a photocopier and scaled it up by 20%. The Mitsubishi F-2A, finished no doubt in the two-tone blue Sea maritime attack scheme. I always think that's a lovely scheme. And the aircraft itself, for some reason, I think it looks a bit more graceful than the F-16. I think, I don't know why, maybe the size, slight proportion change. But yeah.
Definitely the proportions, yes.
Yeah, that's obviously the Hasegawa kit. It's the only kit in 1/48 scale. And then finally, for people who think 1/72nd scale is just far too big, we have a Douglas EC-24A from X scale in 1/144 scale. I know Gary is very, very partial to a bit of small scale modelling, so he always tries to get one in when he can. So that'll be well worth a look. But there's all the usual news and reviews, the IPMS column, book reviews, and as ever, it's a potpourri of plastic aircraft modelling.
Fantastic. Okay then, Warpaint. Any updates on the latest edition?
Yes, indeed. Warpaint 151 on the Hawker Siddeley Andover is on sale. It was on sale at the Bolton show last Sunday, the 26th of January. And it's a really good reference on a type which I think is very overlooked, but is actually popular with a lot of kind of aviation enthusiasts. Gary, the editor, would like to put an appeal out to anyone who is building a model of an Andover. I know there are a few. There's a resin kit available. There's a couple of other ones, I think. Or even...
There's a Mac-2.
Well, anyone that's wrestling the Mac-2 kit into shape.
Yeah.
Or is scratch building one in 1/24th because they're serving a life sentence for something that they didn't do. Please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you because we probably want to publish an article about an Andover.
Okay.
So, yes, there we go.
Cool. So pulling into platform 1, we've got one of 3 rail magazines.
Yeah, as ever, the 3 Guidelines Rail magazines all come out on the 26th of February. Obviously, if you have a subscription, you'll get them a day early. British Railways Illustrated, which chiefly covers, as the title suggests, British Railway up until the early 70s, features all its content in black and white, with articles that obviously cover locomotives, locations, infrastructure, and pretty much anything else, as long as it's relevant and well written. In this month's issue, articles include a visit to Sunderland South Dock Shed, to Bulleeds West of Salisbury. There's part 2 of WR Britannia's, and a visit to the Kent coast with Bradshaw's. And so there's plenty there to interest those with a taste for historic railways. Railway Bylines offers a similar type of content, but focuses on narrow gauge, industrial and branch lines. In this month's issue, Alan Baker's notes on the Mountain Ash Colliery fleet are available. And there's a piece on Southampton Power Station, along with various other bylines and obscure locations, which are meat and drink to the readership. It really is the magazine model, the railway magazine for people who like their railways to be somewhat obscure. The final magazine in the locomotive train of guidelines is Narrow Gauge and Industrial Railway Model Review. This is issue 145. It's Gary's first issue as editor, and it includes modelling and reference articles on narrow gauge railway modelling, tips on buildings, rolling stock, scratch building locomotives, and in this issue there is a rather useful piece on how to get away with painting figures badly. I don't need to read a piece on painting figures badly because I've been doing it ever since I started modelling, and I have no intention of changing. And that's it for the guidelines updates this month.
Apart from the yields on the farming magazine.
Apart from the yields on the farming magazine. Thank you for reminding me. So Model Farm is a magazine for people interested in farm machinery, farm dioramas, and anything really to do with agricultural modelling. It has a very loyal but small readership. As you can imagine, it's probably not the kind of thing you would jump into, but it's very popular with farmers, surprise, surprise. You don't have much time, but do, I know, like to have kind of small-scale representations of a lot of the stuff they use for a living. The big news about that is that it has actually now gone to subscription only. So whereas you were able to purchase it from the newsagents like T.G. Jones before, you will now need a subscription to get it. Or like all of our magazines, you can buy them via online at the usual sources.
Pocket Mags.
Pocket Mags, thank you. I'd forgotten that. So thanks for getting me out of that one. There you go, my shares in Pocket Mags. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay, John, thanks for the updates. And although we're recording this at the end of January, we'll see you next month for an update on the April editions.
You will indeed. You will indeed. And thank you for having me.
You've a pleasure. Speak to you soon, John.
And to you.
Fishcop Models, elevating scale modeling to an art form. Experience highly detailed 3D printed upgrade parts that bring true authenticity to your builds. Creators of the acclaimed Rolls-Royce Merlin engine set for both the Kotare Spitfire and the Dambusters set for the Border Models Avro Lancaster. For bespoke design and printing, our service is as precise as it is personal, all at a reasonable price. Please take a look at our products on www.fishcopcompany.de. Shipping is available for all of our products worldwide.
Next up, the Stash Inflation Report. Fresh announcements, shiny plastic, and the kit's already whispering your name.
Right then, time to check the flight line, clear some bench space, and pretend we're only looking at new releases. Because clearly none of these are actually going into the stash, honest. First up is Special Hobby. They have announced their full 2026 range. And I've gone absolutely all in. And there's something here for pretty much every era and to taste. First up is the 32nd scale highlights. The X15-1 to XLR 11 engines, which is reissued of the rocket-powered Icon. Guardians of Sion, featuring the Swiss Air Force variant of the Marenselnier MS-406 fighter known as the D-3801. Lastly, JB-2 Loon, essentially the US interpretation of the V-1 flying bomb. Large-scale fans are getting some interesting and slightly left-field subjects here, very much in keeping with Special Hobby's niche strengths. Next up is the 48 scale releases. They are doing a Seafire Mark III, which is a reissue, Baltimore Mark I, BU-181, which is a new tool, Heinkel HE-177A3, Portes 637 Recce variant, the SAC AS6, Furry Fulmar Mark I, plus two notable Venom family releases, the DH-112 Venom FB Mark IV and the DH-112 C Venom FAW21. These come with upgraded clear parts and 3D printed components, always welcome improvements on earlier classic airframes tooling. Next up is the 72nd scale, and yes, it's a long list. They are clearly doubling down on the 72nd scale this year with a massive spread, including the Furry Albacore Mark 1/2, the Heinkel He-178 V2, the Sea Vixen FAW Mark 1/2, Gloucester Meteor Night Fighter Mark 13, the JA-37 Viggen, which is a reissue, the Bugatti 100, the classic Art Deco aircraft from the 1930s, is also a reissue. Caprioni CA310 and CA312, Mirage F1CT, Mirage 3C, Mystère 4A, the F-84F Thunderstreak, the de Havilland 98 Mosquito Night Fighter Mark 15, the A-20G Havoc, the Katie Hawk Mark III, the AH-1G Cobra, and the Letov S328 family variants, and a wider spread of lesser-known European and interwar subjects. This is classic hobby and eclectic, historical, interesting and absolutely dangerous for anyone who likes unusual subjects. Tamiya returned to the Gustav with a 1-48 and Messerschmitt BF109 G6 late model. Based on the excellent existing tooling, this version adds new engine cowling parts to depict the late production details, early Harb canopy with improved visibility, optional open or closed engine panels, and 21cm underwing rocket launchers. Multiple marking options include Hermann Graf's aircraft. The real aircraft was one that most prolific fighters ever produced, and this late version reflects the ongoing adaptations made to counter heavy bomber formations. For modelers, expect Tamiya. For modelers, expect typical Tamiya engineering, clean build, sharp fit, and strong out-of-the-box accuracy. Next up is AZ Model with their Spitfire trainers and variants. They're doing a Spitfire TR9 in military service, Spitfire TR9 airshow schemes, including big in-hill aircraft and commemorative liveries, the Spitfire TR8 Racer, and the Spitfire Mark-9 UTI Soviet Air Force. The modelers' niche Spitfire variants remain hugely popular, especially trainers and racers, so expect these to sell well. Next up is Armour Hobby Curtis P36C Hawk. Armour continued with their strong run of high-quality detail kits with the Curtis P36C. This represents the final development stage of the P36 design, one of the first truly modern American fighters, marking the transition from biplanes into the enclosed cockpit, all-metal monoplane era. Highlights include Pratt & Whitney R1830 engine configuration, additional wing-mounted armaments, distinctive external ammunition boxes under the wing. Multiple visual striking marking options, including experimental camouflage from the 1939 National Air Racing. For modelers, the variety of schemes makes this especially attractive for anyone wanting something slightly different on the shelf. So whether you're into obscure interwar prototypes, Spitfire trainers, Cold War oddities, or classic World War II workhorses, Special Hobby alone might require a second mortgage this year. Remember, it's not too many kits, it's just a diversified hangar. Now it's over to Nevs with the nauticals.
Cheers, boulders. Right, folks, time to head down to the docks, and let's see what's quietly slipped into the stash while nobody was looking. OKB Grigorov continue their strong run of compact, high-quality naval subjects with 2 new 1-700 scale submarine releases, and these look ideal for modern, Cold War and contemporary collections. First up is the Royal Navy Vanguard class, representing the UK's current generation of ballistic missile submarines. The kit is composed of just 6 resin parts, suggesting a clean, straightforward build with sharp detail rather than a parts count marathon. There will also be an alternative version featuring the distinctive Sonar 2054 flank array, which will appeal to modern Royal Navy enthusiasts and accuracy-focused modelers alike. Alongside this comes the 1-700 Akula 3 class submarine, again in just 6 resin parts, offering a natural Cold War counterpart for display or comparison builds. Both kits will include display stands, making them perfect for minimalist submarine displays or fleet-scale collections. Now, this next one will raise eyebrows amongst Cold War fans. 3D Wild have announced plans for a 1-350th USS Long Beach, the nuclear-powered guided missile cruiser CGN-9, one of the most distinctive silhouette ever to sail under the US Navy flag. Not many details are available yet, but Long Beach is famous for its boxy superstructure and early missile-era design philosophy, very much a product of experimental Cold War thinking. If you like your ships unusual, technical, and unapologetically Cold War, this could become a standout centerpiece. EV Model are producing something that will resonate strongly with Royal Navy and Falklands War builders. The 1-700 RFA Atlantic conveyor, as she appeared in 1982. This auxiliary container ship played a critical logistical role during the conflict, transporting VTOL Harrier jets and vital supplies to support carrier operations. It's a subject with real historical weight and emotional resonance. Early indications suggest a resin waterline configuration and decals included for both Atlantic Conveyor and Atlantic Causeway. For modelers, this is the perfect build for Falcon's task force displays and dioramas, filling a gap that has long existed in smaller scale. And finally, Verifier have thrown down the gauntlet yet again with a brand new 1/700th scale Japanese battleship Yamato. This marks their first venture into the Yamato class at this scale, and expectations are high given their reputation for sharp tooling and premium detail. We can expect an injection moulded full hull kit, crisp photo etch details, and 3D printed secondary turrets, anti-aircraft guns, and gun shields. Could this just about become the best 700 scale Yamato on the market? Well, Nevs might have to take the plunge and find out. So remember, kids, ships don't sink your budget, they just quietly increase your harbour capacity. And now, from one Yamato weather to another, over to Dan for the AFVs.
Thanks, Nevs. Yep, I am loving the Yamato. Right then, Benchmates, wallets at the ready, stash excuses at DEFCON 1, and let's see what's threatening your shelf space this month. Tamiya 135th US Light Tank M24 Chaffee, European Theatre. Tamiya are back with a brand new tooling, and when Tamiya says new tool, our ears across the modelling world immediately perk up. The M24 Chaffee was designed as the replacement for the earlier Stuart light tanks. I like those. Bringing improved mobility, better protection, and crucially, a 75mm main gun derived from aircraft armament. It gave US armoured units a light tank that finally packed a meaningful punch without losing agility. Kit captures that compact, purposeful design beautifully. Key highlights include accurate low-profile hull and turret geometry with sloped armour, cast surface textures and finely reproduced weld seams, slide moulded fenders with sharp bolt detail, optional sand shields for European theatre builds, assembly type tracks with one piece straight runs, thank you Tamiya Engineering, photo etch mesh rack for rear stowage, turret interior details including breech and radio gear, 2 torso crew figures, commander and loader, 3 European theatre marking options. Finished size comes in at roughly 159mm by 87. A neat footprint that makes it display friendly while still offering loads of weathering potential. This feels like classic Tamiya, approachable build, strong accuracy and enough detail to satisfy without overwhelming. Expect a street price of around £38 to £45 depending on your retailer. Add aftermarket track, stowage or crew upgrades and you're easily nudging £70 before paint hits plastic, but I think it'd be worthwhile. Next up, Andy's Hobby Headquarters 135th M3 and M3A1 half-track. Andy's HHQ continues to push into original tooling territory with a brand new 135th scale M3 and M3A1 half-track set. This looks like it's going to be a big one. The highlights so far, as we've seen, are brand new tooling, full interior detail, this 1+1 configuration, meaning you're effectively getting 2 variants in the box. The M3 family were absolute workhorses of Allied mechanised warfare, bridging the gap between trucks and fully tracked armour. They saw service across multiple theatres and roles, gun platform, command vehicle, so the conversion potential here is enormous. Interior detail suggests this could be a serious canvas for weathering, clutter and storytelling builds. Likely landing somewhere around 65 to 85 depending on distribution and import factors. Expect this one to generate aftermarket very quickly.
Hang on, Dan. Did you say 135th?
Yes.
That's new for Andy Hosby Headquarters. He's normally 1/16th.
Yeah, he's having a go at 135th, which I think's great. I'll be more than happy if he jumped into 148 as well, but I think 116th or 135th covers the major market, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Okay. Sorry, it was just so unusual when you said 135th and Andy's Hobby. I was thinking, hang on a sec.
I know, and when I saw it announced, I considered breaking my 135th hiatus for that because they're going to be really nice. I think they're going to be lovely. Anyway, moving on. I love this firm. Paracel Miniatures, 135th US Vietnam crew sets, PBR and AFV. Paracel are expanding their Vietnam era figure range with a new 135th US crew figures designed for PBR riverboats, including those Tamiya kits, armoured vehicles and associated dioramas. Vietnam subjects continue to grow in popularity, and high-quality crew figures remain one of the easiest ways to inject life and narrative into a build. Ideal for anyone building riverine warfare scenes or looking to add authentic human scale to AFV projects. Expect approximately £12 to £18 per set once shipping and import are factored in. Small price for a massive diorama impact. Takom are teasing something big, literally. The legendary T-28, later redesignated T-95, was a super heavy American assault vehicle designed to smash through Germany's Siegfried line. Weighing in at around 95 tons, it featured armour up to 12 inches thick and mounted a massive 105 gun directly into the hull. No rotating turret, just pure bunker busting intent. Only 2 prototypes were ever built, completed far too late for World War II combat, and today the surviving example remains one of the most recognisable experimental armoured vehicles ever produced. Takom's teaser pretty much confirms we're getting this beast in at 135th scale, affectionately nicknamed the Doom Turtle. Expect huge footprint, heavy presence, and serious weathering opportunities. Also expect a display cabinet reshuffle. Pure speculation until confirmed, but likely in the 75 to 110 bracket based on Takom's previous large armour releases. So there we go. From refined light armour to absolute super heavy madness, plus enough accessories to quietly grow the stash while telling yourself it's just figures. Remember, Benchmates, it's not stash inflation, it's future project security. And with that, it's over to Shane for the Gundams.
Cheers, Dan. Now it's time for everyone's Want It Threatening segment on the Gundam style things. This one's a bit of a P Bandai special. Because Bandai have clearly decided that shelf space is optional and that self-control is overrated. Let's start with the premium Bandai release that leans into hard, universal Century nostalgia. The HG 144 Zaku Black Tri-Stars. Now, for anyone new to Gundam lore, the Black Tri-Stars are one of the most iconic ace teams from the original Mobile Suit Gundam era, known for their coordinated combat tactics and distinctive dark colour schemes. This high-grade release gives you a modern articulation take on a classic Zaku platform, including double-jointed elbows for dynamic posing, generous weapon loadout that includes the bazooka, 105mm machine gun, Heat Hawk, Stormfaust, and dedicated shield. As you'd expect from premium Bandai, you're also getting specialised marking for the Black Tri-Stars. It's worth noting that this kit sees periodic reissues, later runs, often carrying up updated blue Bandai Spirit logos. Translation: if you miss it once, you might get another shot, but maybe don't rely on it. Up next, firmly in that flashy anime spectacle category, the Bandai HG 144 Strike Freedom Type 2 and the Wings of Light effect set. Officially released in Japan March 2026, this one builds into HG Mighty Strike Freedom tooling, introduces entirely new molds of the Wings of Light effects, produced using polarized resin to replicate the color shift glow seen on screen. It's snap fit, so no glue required, comes loaded with accessories. Dual high energy beam rifles that combine into a single weapon, beam sabers, beam shield, experimental railgun, and of course, those dramatic wing effects. In short, if subtlety isn't your thing and you want maximum shelf presence, This is very much your moment. Moving on, the Bandai HG 144 expansion set for the Red Gundam, tied into Mobile Suit Gundam G2 series. Announced April, shipping expected in May. This expansion is designed specifically for the HG Red Gundam, adding 6 Kimi bits to enhance both display options and lore accuracy. As always with expansion packs, you need to remember the base kit. So this one is for the completists rather than the newcomers. Now, something that's raised quite a few eyebrows. The Bandai MGSD NZ 666 Kisharu. Yes, the MGSD line continues to evolve, and this marks its expansion into Universal Century Timeline. Scheduled for September 26, this takes one of Neo Zeon's most imposing designs and shrinks it into a super deformed format without losing any of its identity. A quick bit of lore. The Kisharu was developed as a smaller accessor to the massive Queen Mansa, incorporating psychoframe technology into the cockpit, making it incredibly powerful but extremely rare. Neo Zeon lost its ability to produce that tech. Its signature 4 binders remain the centerpiece, each packed with mega particle cannons, funnels, fields, generators, thrusters, and sub-arms. If Bandai translate that complexity well into MGSD, it could be one of the most visually impressive releases in the line. Next, welcome return of fans Afterwar Gundam X, the HG 144 Gundam Leopard, scheduled for August. The new HG tooling promises full recreation of its internal weapons deployed gimmicks, including the massive arm Gatling firing state and shoulder missiles hatches. For builders who enjoy mechanical gimmicks and transformation features without stepping into Master Grade territory, this one could be a sleeper hit. And finally, the big lad, HG 144 XI Gundam, returning with a new sorcery of Nymph Psyche version, expected in April. Already known for its sheer presence, representing a mobile suit over 26 meters tall in the universe, the XI Gundam pushes the limits of HG scale. It features transformation into flight form, improved articulation, including new wrist joints, strong color separation straight from the box. Accessories include the beam rifle, dual sabers, shield, interchangeable hands, and it's frequently paired with a HG canopy for those waiting for the full halfway flash sharp display. So there you go. Premium Bandai exclusive, flashy part effects, Universal Century heavy hitters, and enough plastic to make your stash nervously glance at your available storage space. But now, for the first time, we're handing the keys over to our brand new automotive expert, Ian Hartrip, and he's walked us through the latest upcoming automotive releases. Ian, over to you.
Right then. Engines warm, tyres checked, and credit cards quietly hiding behind the sofa because the vehicle side of the hobby has been very busy lately. Let's take a look at what's heading towards your bench and possibly your bank balance. Tamiya's 2026 vehicle lineup has been expanded slightly with some reissues and a couple of newer items. Tamiya's latest announcements lean heavily into nostalgia and motorsport heritage, mixing classic re-releases with a few standout new subjects. 12-scale motorcycles. Honda's CB1000F is a brand new tooling celebrating classic 1980s roadster styling. Honda's RS1000 Endurance Racer, item number 14014, is a reissue of the iconic 1981 Endurance machine. The Yamaha RZ V500R of 1983, a limited edition re-release of a legendary 2-stroke superbike. For bike builders, this is pure golden era Japanese performance, and Tamiya's engineering usually makes these satisfying builds straight from the box. 124th Automotive Highlights. Morris Mini Cooper 1275S Mark 1, updated road and racing versions of a genuine British icon. Porsche 934 Turbo RSR Veyron with item number 24334 is a reissue including photo etch parts, classic rally and racing pedigree meets modern tooling updates, a nice balance between nostalgia and build quality. The wildcard entry for Tamiya is their 1/10th RC Mercedes-Benz 190 E2.5 Evo 2 on their TT02 chassis. Technically RC, but for touring car fans, this DTM era legend is guaranteed to trigger a few memories. UK stash inflation reality check. Expect roughly £25 to £40 for the 124th kits, 35 for 55 for the motorcycles, and significantly more for the RC platform depending on spec. Revell, Formula 1, Fast and Furious and big icons. Revell are clearly targeting accessibility and pop culture with their latest releases, highlights including 120th McLaren MCL 39, 2025 F1 with a click system build, a 120th Red Bull Racing Honda RB21, 2025 F1, also click system meaning no paint or glue required. 116th Nissan Skyline R34 GTR, Fast and Furious, highly detailed and likely a crowd favourite. 124th Plymouth GTX, Fast and Furious, Dominic Toretto's muscle car. 132nd Aston Martin Ulster 1935, a classic re-release. 124th GFLF Simba 8x8 airport fire truck, a massive 476-piece emergency vehicle. For modelers, Revell are covering everything from beginner-friendly builds to large statement pieces, with estimated UK pricing. Click Sister F1 kits are likely to be in the £40 to £50 mark, the Skyline closer to 70 to 80, and the Simba fire truck potentially pushing 90 to 100. Italeri, racing heritage and two-wheel icons. Italeri's vehicle announcements focus on historic motorsport and classic design. 112th Mercedes-Benz SSK 1929, highly detailed vintage engineering. 1/9th Maxless G50 Racer, re-edition of the classic British motorcycle. 1/9th Vespa PX 125/150 1978, new tool bringing classic scooter culture to the bench. 124th Lancia Delta HF Interrally 16-valve Safari Rally, including Martini and toe tip deliveries. And 124th Fiat 131 Abarth Safari Rally 79, another rally legend. For modelers, a strong appeal again. For modelers, a strong appeal for rally fans and vintage vehicle enthusiasts, and those iconic liveries will be hard to resist. Kyosho, resin diecast and RC crossovers. Kyosho are blending scale modelling with collector-grade releases. 112th Nissan Skyline GTR Fast and Furious resin model. 1/18th Dodge Charger RT 1970 and Toyota Supra diecast movie icons. Mini ZM R04 rear-wheel drive, Jaguar XJR 14 Group C prototype for RC enthusiasts. This blurs the line between modelling, collecting and driving, and that's no bad thing. Porsche, statement piece incoming. And finally, if subtlety isn't your thing, Porsche are releasing a 1/4 scale Ducati Panigale V2 Super Quattro Final Edition. Yes, 1/4 scale. Expect serious detail, serious shelf presence, and likely serious investment. So whether it's classic rally legends, endurance racers, F1 machines or full-size feeling superbikes, the vehicle side of the hobby is absolutely firing on all cylinders. Remember, it's not stash inflation, it's simply expanding your garage.
And that is your stash inflation hit for this episode. Let's step away from the pre-order button and get back to the bench and back to the show.
Beyond the Box Art is brought to you by Ammo by Mig Jimenez, Fishcop Model Company, Guideline Publications, Phase Hanger Resin Accessories, and the Scale Modelers Supply. And now, our featured interview. Conversations with the people shaping the hobby, from individual modelers to leading manufacturers, exploring every aspect of scale modelling together.
We're ecstatic to welcome modelling royalty to the show. This person is someone who approaches scale modelling not just as a hobby, but as a form of art, storytelling and design thinking. Lincoln Wright is the founder of Paint on Plastic, a studio dedicated to sci-fi modelling, Maschinen Krieger and the Japanese approach to creative craft. With years of experience working alongside the Maschinen Krieger community, producing books, guides and some of the most distinctive builds in the hobby. Lincoln's work challenges how we think about realism, process and what modelling can actually be. This promises to be a conversation about creativity, discipline and why sometimes the rules are there to be bent or broken completely. Lincoln, welcome to Beyond the Box Art.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the wonderful intro.
You're very welcome, and just make the checkout too. Okay, let's jump into it then. You've spent years immersed in Maschinen Krieger and Japanese studio modelling. What was the moment you realised this wasn't just a hobby, but something deeper, almost philosophical?
Oh, that's a very good and first-time question. Asked first in the podcast when I'm still waking up, so very well played.
You need an extra coffee for this one.
Yeah. It's been a very interesting procession of ideas that seem to roll through time with a continuously updating series of understandings, if that makes sense. So I don't know if there was one moment where I had a grand realization of what I'd stumbled into, but more and more it is presenting itself and becoming a little bit more evident, if that makes sense. So I don't have a corresponding clever answer for that clever question yet, but I'll work on it.
Okay. In that case, what originally pulled you toward Maschinen Krieger?
Ah, okay.
And how was that early spark evolved into the artistic approach you have today?
Excellent. You've spent time. Thank you for your preparation for this. I had initially prepared for the usual kickoff, which is no prep, and Lincoln, please tell our audience about yourself.
I promised you something different.
Which, yeah, I thought you guys, yeah. So I'm usually the one. I remember this very, very cleanly. Still remember the exact trip to the model shop, and your listeners and team who are into Gunpla will get a good laugh out of this too. I went to find my first Gunpla kit, and it was through stumbling through my local hobby store that I couldn't come to a decision. I'd like Gunpla. I understand the aesthetic a lot more now, but at that time, I couldn't differentiate very well between what was available to me. And you can imagine, I don't know if any of you have been to a Japanese model shop, but they're quite extensive, especially the ones that are selling modern kits, the recent releases. They're very Gunpla heavy. Easily 80% of their stock is Gunpla. But I couldn't decide. But there was one kit that I'd stumbled past that I felt I had an affinity for, an understanding, and it was an AFS Ma.K. It's one of the most simple kits in the Maschinen Krieger lineup. And it's actually happened to be one of the first ones that they kicked off the Nito series with back in the 80s. But I was completely unaware of this. It was the box art spoke to me, and it was relatively simple. It was a guy in a power suit, and it was a dark yellow finish was how the box art portrayed it. And it was I didn't understand at the time, but it was that simple yet deep aesthetic that was based on both reality. It was connected to what I'd done in modeling before with tanks and airplanes. But that was a complete contrast to what I was seeing on the Gunpla boxes, which was bright red or green spiky. And I like that look too, but I didn't yet understand it. But there was something somewhat familiar and alluring to me with the Maschinen Krieger, that one simple box art. And so I grabbed that one, and it was cheap too. It was like the cost of a cheap lunch. It was about 1,200 yen, which was, well, in Tokyo, that's expensive ramen, but it was reasonably priced as well. So that combination lured me in for my first taste. And to the price is relevant because you know how it goes. Many addictions, that first taste is free, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. Addiction is probably not the right term to use, but I know what you're saying. Okay, so how did you actually find yourself in Japan then?
So I went over there when I was young as part of an entourage with family.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it study.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not child, but young enough that I grew into adulthood there. So I born in Australia and lived my formative years here, but I grew up in Tokyo, Yokohama and Tokyo. So, and I ended up living there for about 30 years and have come back to Australia. It's 10 years ago, I think this August. So the story, because it's so long, it's one of the backstories I don't delve into much because there's probably not much to extract from the origin story of why Japan, because it became quite long and it ends up then just being a Japan life. But it's very insightful due to the coming from a different culture and then needing to overlay the Japanese language and culture over the top.
Yeah.
Creates a very different, just like with our modeling, it creates a very different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is also expressed in my work a great deal, because in your team or yourself, Paul, are you multilingual?
Unfortunately not.
No problem.
Well, I do speak two things, English and absolute rubbish.
Okay, I get it. I also speak Australian. It does set you up for different ways of looking at things, because you can tap either side of that. It's like an operating system almost. So I've experienced modeling through both of them, but also then as the internet boom of modeling kicked off, that also, I would say that was the third tier of information was brought in. And all of them, and we've all experienced this is not unique to me, this is all of us. We experience modeling through the international lens, if that makes sense, because we're all connected through the internet. And so we can see people around the world and how they do things. And it is sometimes a little bit different, isn't it? We get different tastes, different ways of thinking about things, different ways of arguing about things. And they're all equally valid. But I would say putting that one, I'm sorry this reply went long, but that would have been one of the main things, would be having the dual lens to look at things over time. I'd say it's almost a triple lens now. The Aussie way of making airfix models as a kid, then the Japanese lens of doing it there, and then the international lens of making sure that stuff will read well for people around the world.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Lincoln, you mentioned that's the first time that you came across the Maschinen Krieger kits. And I think that, again, talk about the international piece, many people see the M&A kits as like just sci-fi kit. Whereas, you frame them as a form of industrial art. So what do you think most modelers miss when they first approach that M&A box?
That's a good question. Thank you. I never think about things in terms of what they miss. I think as I learn more about how I filter and understand things, it's more of what they see initially that is correct for them, because we can only see things based on our own experience, right? So I had just happened to, I made a slew of, are you gentlemen familiar with the Tamiya released a series of 148 armor kits?
Yeah, my favorite.
They're great, aren't they? They're fantastic.
Yeah.
So I had just made a slew of them in rapid succession because they were locally available and I could just walk down the road and grab them. And I was enthralled with them. The die-cast chassis and all of the things for them seemed fantastic. And they're nice and compact. The first Maschinen Krieger kit that I saw, it embodied some elements of those kits in the color scheme. So it was something I was somewhat familiar with. I think one of the fantastic things about the design that the team for the Maschinen Krieger kits put together, despite them being made up, they're fictional, there's some design elements that almost all of us can immediately read. And I think that's what is quite a draw for me. So, like I said before, I was at the level of my modeling career where dark yellow was a thing. And I'm sure all of us have gone through that, haven't we? When we discover the goodness of dark yellow. And, the 1942 version, but made in this factory, we...
oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and then I'm talking to, and in Japanese modeling circles, of course, dark yellow is most often represented by Middlestone, which is technically a British color.
Yeah.
So the irony of me seeing that, and it was of course lost on them, being Japanese, they did not see that using Middlestone was ironic, but infinitely entertaining to me. So that's where I would say so Shane, sorry to go out on that limb and bring it back, but I would say it's the familiarity for what you've learned thus far is what can be seen in these kits. And then you're more than free and more than welcome to push forward with that part that you like about it. I think there's quite a few things to choose from. And
yeah, so rather than like maybe looking at the missed perspective, it's actually what's to be gained. So you can gain the freedom of your imagination, I suppose.
Sure. There's quite a bit to it. That's where it's probably different to making real world subjects, in that we have freedoms when we can find them. So in our paint schemes and whatever, we can choose, but there might not be as much structural freedom And that's one of the things that I think is very enticing and attractive for Maschinen Krieger modeling, is that it's incredibly freeing. But that's also a cost at the same time, isn't it? Because once the constraints are removed, what the heck do I do, right? How do I make this look right from a certain point of view, is then something our brain can have some challenge deciphering.
And I guess it's almost like, has your end product met the initial vision that you had set out to achieve? You know, it's enabled you to reflect back on it.
And isn't that something we always struggle with as modelers? There's what is how we see the thing and how it ends up.
Yeah.
And how close have we gotten them to come together?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's. But do you guys also find that's one of the things that I really enjoy? I'm just finishing up a project now, and I'm happy that it ended up like my happy head pictures, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's great if you can bring them together. Sometimes it'll end up quite different, but that's something I think we develop over time, isn't it? The skill to bring them together.
It's being able to visualize and actually create what you're actually thinking at the same time. I look at the box art of a kit and think, that'll look fantastic. I build it and then think, okay, so I've gone to my own interpretation. It's nothing like the box art. It's nothing like I actually got out of the box. I've thrown so much at aftermarket and stuff at it compared to a Maschinen Krieger kit where, you know, the amount of additional material you need to throw at a model to actually get a representation is limited in comparison. You know, these days, the cheapest part of actually buying an aircraft model is actually buying the model itself.
Right.
By the time you've actually put all the aftermarket, the research material and everything into it, you've spent 3, 4, 5 times the original kit cost.
Or Tamiya.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And armor.
Some instances, but that's a sore subject.
Sure. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. To share, I'm an avid aircraft model collector. I have notions of building them.
Yes.
But the stack grows a lot faster than the output.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. No, I'd slub airplanes. So I use a lot of I call it research. Yokian is an avid airplane guy. Loves airplane models. And his home is full of airplane kits. So the Maschinen Krieger, we're free to take what we want from them and say, okay, this is this kind of finish. But more often than not, they are airplane inspired. The way they build, and if you choose to do them in a canonical way, the paint schemes are very airplane inspired as well. I actually did, I've got a whole book exploring that. My Hund, Volume 3, it's an advanced Sentry, well, it has multiple roles, but it's basically a robot. But I experimented with putting a number of different aircraft-inspired schemes across them, and that was a fantastic experiment. It's great to be able to take that different physical extrapolation of an object, like an airplane, and take that paint scheme and morph it onto something that's bipedal and, you know, vertically long.
Yeah.
And axis being vertical. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I believe, I haven't got Yokoyama-san to admit it yet, but I think the Grosserhund, your viewers, if you're familiar with that. I know, Martin, you've made at least one of them, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one, yeah.
So it's more like, it's almost like a dog robot.
Yes. I think it's based on, I highly suspect it's based on the F-15 Eagle platform.
Right.
There's a lot of ways that you can see them connected, but I don't want to derail. And sorry for getting off on that tangent there, Shane. But I think they're very aircraft connected.
Lincoln, do you think that, is it Yokaman, you said? The chap in Japan. What's his name?
So sorry for laughing. So his full name is, first name is...
Family name first in Japan, isn't it? Family name, yeah.
Okay, I'll keep it simple, Link. Come on. Yeah, let's just stick with his family name, because I've been together with people who then started calling him by his first name, and I had to quietly give them the elbow and, dude, don't do that.
No.
So,
Yokoyama-san. So it's interesting that you said that you think that the designs are probably more lend themselves from influence of aircraft, whereas personally, the first time I saw a Maschinen Krieger was, that's a tank, that's a walking tank. That's just my instinct. And I'm really surprised that you sort of lean towards the fact that they may be more inspired by aircraft panels than armor panels. But yeah, it's really interesting.
There's a couple that are tank inspired. Just for your listeners who are into the stuff, the Melusine is obviously tank inspired with its Maybach engine.
Ah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of them there. But still, if you really look at the design principles and the way they're put together, they're very clearly airplanes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, but not the fact that they can fly. They're obviously like too heavy looking. But if we look at their, like, as you said, the panel ideology, almost the way they're put together, but also from a modeling perspective, tank model, as we all know, we've all done them, tank models build quite differently to airplane models, don't they? Airplanes tend to be Larry, I'm looking at you, but airplane models tend to be a little simpler to make, and they don't tend to be as complicated nor spend as much time separating parts for, I don't want to say no reason, but you guys have all made Dragon tanks, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So there we go, right? You know, it's like, oh no, this kit has 527 pieces because.
Yeah.
And whereas, you know, we'll get a classic FX kit and it will be 38 pieces, but it goes together pretty well. It's more that lineage as well. So it's not just the fact of being the reality of objects being based on real airplanes, but also the style of model making, because this is one of the big differences. Being first developed in the 80s, they're quite different to Gunpla in that Gunpla were made, they're computer-designed abstractions that come from hand-drawn art first. So they're, you know, CAD-CAM software?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, industrial software. So that's the design lineage there. But most of the Maschinen Krieger, like we could call them artifacts, I guess, the original scratch builds, were made of kit bashes from actual kits. So they're handmade.
Ah, right.
And it makes quite a difference. It makes a very big difference in the design evolution when you're doing something in software versus the real thing. I mean, look at the extrapolation of that through movies. If we look back at maybe sci-fi movies in the days before CG, they had quite a different look, didn't they? For the spaceships, the different things that were built versus the things that are now designed in software. Software tends to have a lot more. Well, I don't know if I'm qualified to speak about that, but software produces a different look, doesn't it? And that would be the huge difference, the biggest difference between the Maschinen Krieger kits and, say, Gundam kits.
Okay, that's a very good feed into actually what Martin's going to be asking.
Yeah, I don't know if that went down an odd rabbit hole.
No, it's good.
Absolutely brilliant.
I'm trying to be as concise as possible, but you can imagine that I've a life spent doing this. I've gone down a few rabbit holes.
Go in any direction that you want.
I'm normal. My parents had me tested.
Have you still got the certificate?
They never produced one. That's the thing. I have a daughter, and she's quite well spoken. And that's one of the jokes I often level at her. I say, "Don't worry, you're normal. We had you tested." And she says, "But where's the paperwork?"
Lincoln, I've been a huge fan of your work since I started back modeling 5 years ago, and I was very drawn to Maschinen Krieger from the beginning.
Martin, may I interject and just congratulate you on your fantastic sense of taste?
Yeah, I do test it. I'm actually building a Raptor right now, but that's just that. When you look at your work, to me, it's like a dichotomy. It looks really loose and organic, and it just seems to go with the flow. But at the same time, you're really controlled in what you do and the techniques that you use. So how much of that process is instinctual and how much of it is, I don't know, structured discipline, you'd call it?
Oh boy, that's a good question. And I'm happy I can make it look like one despite it only being the other. Really, that was actually one of the things that really inspired me. So I'll bring it back to me in a moment, but I'd like to offer the inspiration that brought about this workflow first and then talk about how I struggle with it. So Yokoyama-san's work was exceedingly inspirational to me when I saw very early on, when I first kind of was bumping into the Maschinen Krieger property, I managed to get along to like a show one of the great things about Tokyo is that they'll often have model shows that are also couched as art shows. They put them on to both live in the same space, if that makes sense. So I got to go along and see a body of Yokoyama-san's work that was put together. And there were a great number of pieces from the earlier 80s together with more modern ones from the 2000s. And that was very much the dichotomy that I could observe based on my observation skill at the time, which was far less than it is now. But I could see that it was rough and visceral, yet quite artistically and well executed at the same time. And that fascinated, intrigued, and befuddled me, confused the heck out of me. I've since spoken with Yokoyama-san a number of times about this, and it was in learning his background that it became more clear as to where this comes from. And this will tie the reason and why my stuff looks like it does is also because it's very much connected to Yokoyama-san, because I had it was a kind of apprenticeship in a way, because I've worked very closely with him for a number of years, but it wasn't just observing the work, it was observing how he thought about things. And through a number of discussions, he would often joke that I was like an FBI profiler, the way I would ask, because to me, I felt very fortunate that I was able to speak to the source of something like this directly in his language and to find out how he thought about these things and how he saw them. I make an example of that. Have you seen the folks who make the ILM recreations?
Yeah.
Like from original Star Wars stuff, yeah. So the thing that fascinates me there is they don't make it, and now this is just my personal thing, and I understand I'm probably going to get death threats from the ILM community tomorrow. They copy the structure of how the ILM stuff was made rather than trying to do it in the mindset of how it was made.
Right.
Because they'll copy it. Is copious the right word? They'll very carefully copy it with great exaction. They'll say, okay, and they streaked something here, and they poured the thinner from this bottle, which was these paints, and they poured it here, and it was approximately 23 mils, and it was poured here, and it was in a vector of 19 degrees declination to magnetic south. They'll know it with great detail.
Yeah.
But reality, artist was high as a kite and spending the money on fantastic Bolivian marching powder, right? I mean, I'm not making that up. We know that to be true.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, kids, is the only way to really recreate Star Wars is to get a hotline to Columbia. So this fascinated me in Yokoyama-san's stuff. Looked quite different. I was going to big modeling shows in Japan. Like Shizuoka's one of the big ones, but there's constantly modeling shows, the airplane ones, the tank ones. I'm going to all of them. I'm talking to people. And many of them were approaching it like, I'm sorry, I'm lost for an English word here. We call it, in Japanese, it's pronounced that. Shugyo. So you've seen the priests who sit under the waterfalls in the white robes, and they sit there so a lot of modeling is conducted like that there. And it's oddly self-disciplined for something that doesn't always transfer into an outcome. But the discipline is seen more as the outcome. And by being more disciplined and suffering more, some of these folks will believe that it elevates their finish. But that's fine. If that's what floats their waterfall boat, then they're good. But I could see that there was something exceedingly different with Yokoyama-san because he was clearly not doing that. And so in speaking with him at great length, I found out that he's an art professor.
Oh, wow.
But even better, but wait, there's more. Even better than just being an art professor, it's not just from study. It's actually also partially, what's the correct word we use for it again? Where somebody from industry is brought back to the institution and granted additional titles based on their life work. What do we call that again?
They made a fellow.
That's it. Thank you. That's it. Thank you. So his background was not only doing TV props and physical prop work, the outcome was made to be photographed and filmed rather than put on display. It's quite different, right? And he's a Rembrandt master. I don't want to, we joked about this all the time. I've got to be careful when I just say this in English because it might sound like I'm being flippant, but we actually mean it as a very highest level of achievement. He's a master Rembrandt forger. Is it forger? He's able to produce Rembrandt copies quite well and paint in the style of Rembrandt. And we would have many discussions where he would say, okay, this one is inspired from Rembrandt's early work, mid-work, late work. And he would talk about how Rembrandt, through his expert mastery, would employ fewer brushstrokes to get the same result or better later in his career as he became better. And to add to that, I've been able to see these works up close with my own eyes. And it's different, right? If you guys, I don't know if any of you are art fans, but when you look at paintings up close and with your own eyes, they look quite different to the digital photographs that are online, for example. So Rembrandt was extremely technically capable when he was young. Beautiful painting. So there's an example of his self-portrait as a young man. And I mean, if we could count the brushstrokes, we would get a very high number, and he was very technically competent. Then there's a late life self-portrait, and it's recognizable by style, but done with far fewer brushstrokes because of the mastery that he'd achieved. And so if you don't know about it, it's an intellectual subject, you might assume that, the poor bugger was quite sloppy in his later years. But it's not that at all. If you look at it quite carefully, you can see that he achieved so much more with so much less, that it was quite the achievement. Unbeknownst to me, that's what I could see in Yoko Yamamoto's work, and that fascinated me. Now, over the years of speaking with him and experimenting with my own work, that's actually very much the kind of progression that I've been through, in that I'm quite logic-based, very disciplined. I was a very technical painter early, because I think that does have to come first. You have to be able to build well, you have to be able to paint well, and you can do both together. You guys have seen the interwebs exploding about that discussion, of course, right? Yeah, I shared my latest work in progress to both of those groups with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, saying it can be both. Look, I'm relevant. They had a good laugh. They're good guys. So you've got to you've got to get the build right, and you actually have to be able to paint technically well. I think first, before maybe modulation's not the right word. It's not a good word. It's been kind of a little bit perverted and bastardized, hasn't it?
A little bit, yeah. So what you're talking about then is his use of...
But it's okay if it's bastardized with Spanish water. So I just wanted to put a joke caveat in there.
Yeah, good. That's fair enough. So what you're talking about then is Rembrandt's use of light in the way that he's actually trying to replicate.
His light use is also absolutely phenomenal. There's so many different aspects we could dissect Rembrandt's work. But in this particular case, I'd like to make it an extremely simplified version that correlates to our work very well, which is brushstroke count. How many times you touch a model. Pardon me, sorry. Early in his career, he was quite brush happy. He moved the brush a lot, touched the canvas a lot, was very technical and precise. But late in his career, he touched the canvas far less, but accomplished far more with each touch of the brush to the canvas, if that makes sense. So it's the, like Dieter, less but better. He became so much more effective late in his career by touching the canvas, in our case, model less. So coming back to Martin's question, my work does show that there's a dichotomy there. Is that the right word to be using?
Yep.
Sounded good at the time.
Cool. Okay, that's the main thing. I started off like wanting to be very technical because I'd done airplane modeling. I'd caught the Warhammer bug at one stage. I mean, I still really like the look of Warhammer stuff as well. It's beautiful, especially Mr. Blanchitsu is the word I'm thinking, but what's his family name again? But one of the gentlemen who was extremely prolific and directional with his artwork for them. I think he did a wonderful job. But in poring over, it was often difficult in Japan to get English language content for any kind of scale modeling. So White Dwarf was available. So I'd often read them. And there's the two light coats, very careful edge painting and so on, was one of the paint styles that I tried to perfect early in my painting life. So I knew I had those kind of core skills, but it was Yokoyama-san's work and the expression on these Maschinen Krieger models that absolutely enthralled me. And I wanted to learn to be visceral, I wanted to care less about the finish. For that one, I've never been successful. It doesn't work that way, sadly. But being rougher and looser, it has that illusion, but it's more about making the work, how to say that? It's more of a natural and flowing thing.
More organic.
It also depends on the subject. If they're rounded objects with larger surfaces, we can make it more flowing. If, like my current project, the Exheimer, it's one of the folkier variants, because it's a flyer, it's a little bit, it has to be more restrained because it has to read differently to a different segment of the audience. Something that flies, we expect it to look more airplane-y, if that makes sense. But a ground-pounding globular one like the Raptor you're working on, they can look a lot more loose because of the firefly-like shape of the armor. I'm really sorry that was a long...
No, that's great. I'm learning a lot.
Twisty path down to a cafe that was most likely closed.
Well, you were talking about techniques there. Have you developed over a period of time a technique which you kind of consider your personal go-to, or is it still a lot more fluid? Do you have set steps that you pretty much always take with a build? And that's the core, or is it different?
I've tried to do that, but it never works because it never works for me. I've never been clever enough to distill it. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could produce a list and say, here is what I do. Behold, run this playlist. And have you ever set up automations in something like Photoshop? And you can put in a number of tasks and hit play, and boom, it'll do something to a photo for you. Yeah. If only we could do that with modeling. What I'm finding is, much to my chagrin, is that each of my models is completely separate and unique from all those that preceded it. That's why I'm saying this partially in self-jest. I invented my Workbench edition little books because rather than them all being similar or connected, which was something I tried to do with that, if any of you have it, the AK Interactive Sci-Fi FAQ.
Yeah.
Because they want that. The paint manufacturer wants the playlist and they want their products input into that playlist. And it can work in a limited fashion. But in exploring different finishes and how to push them a little bit further, I found that I couldn't reduce it to a series of predictable steps. And in fact, then by experimenting with them and changing the order of things to see if I could break it. And that's also, like I'll mention Yokoyama-san again. Early on, he dared me to try to break models, which was fantastic. I'd never heard that thinking before. It sounds quite alien to us, doesn't it? If one of your mates said to you, I'm trying to not use cuss words here because some of the way that Japanese folks will speak privately, it only translates into blue language for us.
Wow.
But I dare you to F it up.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you can actually explore and check if you've really understood something, is that you try to break it, you try to ruin it. And that's actually one of the only ways to get out of your comfort zone, is to push it what you thought was too far. I don't know if any of you have seen my latest work in progress, because it's actually an example of this. It's a winter whitewash gone way too far, because most of us, myself included, we're quite timid with our paint schemes, and it's hard to make things really dirty, or because we've seen things that are far too dirty. And you know what I mean, right? When you've seen an over-weathered finish.
Yeah, over-weathered. Yeah.
They worked against themselves. It's no longer a finish that accentuates a model. It's something that hides it. So that's what I've tried to do with this one. I'm reasonably happy with it, but it's quite dirty. And it's through a lot of study of how vehicles get dirty over just one winter season. Once water no longer becomes a functional material, you can't wash things once it gets down to -10, -20, right? Because water can no longer actually exist. And dirt and dust sticks differently to objects once you get down to -10, -20. If any of you have spent time in a continental cold desert environment, places like I spent a couple of winters in Alberta, Canada, not the whole winter, but a short period. And just, wow, things look so different there. What will happen to a car over one winter? It's amazing how dirty stuff looks, and buses, like things that are under industrial use, absolutely filthy. But making that interesting and look cool on a model is then the next challenge.
No, I totally understand because I live in a ski town. So I see the buses.
Okay, yeah, you'll see it there.
Yeah, my own car. It looks really different.
And there's nothing you can do about it, right?
No.
Because you can't wash it until it warms up.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if it was flying and it was doing war-y stuff.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And under a high operational tempo, you can imagine that these things would get quite dirty. And we've only got to look at stuff on aircraft carriers that are away from field maintenance and under a high operational tempo. I think the F-18s that were operating during...
Yes, yeah, they get...
Yeah, they're absolutely dirty. So I'm really sorry to say I have not been successful in reducing my work to an output. So what I did was I thought the next best thing I could do was to document them and show how I tried to ruin them, but also explain the steps that I've gone through and the decisions behind them. I stumbled across the idea then that most likely that was more important to share with people rather than, and apologies for using this language. I'm not sure if I'm using it correctly or not, but I felt that it was wrong to spoon feed techniques because they matter not without context and the reasons behind it. I could give somebody a model and say, do these 3 techniques in this order, use these paints, and give them like a little sample box that contains Spanish water. I had to use that jokingly. And do this, and equals X. But we could give that to a sample audience of 10 people, and we'd get 10 different outcomes, wouldn't we? And that's the nature of the beast that we're dealing with, because sadly, it's not a simple mathematical equation, because there's decisions of taste and execution, and the reasons behind them need to be overlaid at each of these steps. So I realized that I was probably doing people a disservice. Number one, by speaking too long and in a too complicated way. Sorry. But number two, if I just said this technique, this paint, go, it's probably doing folks a disservice because they're not getting the why. And I found that the why is actually far, far more important. The paint is actually replaceable. The technique is somewhat replaceable because a number of ways you can do it, right? And there might be the way that you like doing it is slightly different to how I like doing it, and that's cool. But the decision and the reason for doing it and the why based on the outcome is probably the most important thing. So that's why I decided to go deeper with the decision-making process in my workbench editions. And that's something that I've actually verbally fought with publishers in the past. They were very unhappy if I tried to show too much process on a single model because it doesn't sell paint. So just to put it bluntly, they were very unhappy with that. No, Link, you must show many models because many models will sell the book. And it's actually, that's a reasonable facsimile of the accent that I was accosted with. But I knew the real value was to show more process on the single model so people could go, that's how we got there this time.
That's exactly what it's like watching one of your videos, to be fair, Lincoln.
Oh, cool.
It's amazing. I think that's where the connection comes from, certainly from my personal perspective, is like when you talk about the why. And for example, one of the latest videos that you had on your channel, which was about how painting acrylic on enamel and trying to explore the breaking the myths in a way of modeling. highly recommend anyone to watch that video because it really does break a lot of barriers down. And I think it answers a lot of the questions, the why, that certainly does resonate. So yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you, Shane. I am so pleased. I'm so pleased it resonated with at least one person. Can I share a laugh with you about that? I get beaten up a lot online by, I get beaten up a lot. You know, anytime you, and I mean this in a fully clothed way, anytime you expose yourself online and share content or process, you attract just the right kind of connoisseurs. So that particular one,
yeah,
that's actually the first positive feedback I've heard of that experiment. I've actually had the tar kicked out of me.
You're kidding?
No, really. Really.
Yeah, there's always someone.
I found it fascinating, honestly, because, and do you know what it is? I'll come back to the model, to the hobby.
The interwebs is a scary place, kids. Be careful when you're out there.
But you know what? So my father-in-law, he's been modelling for 40 odd years, strictly paints in enamel, and it's a confidence thing. And obviously now, the most of the stuff is acrylic for various different reasons, obviously, but the approach is totally different. And there was a lot of conversations around enamel versus acrylic, just generally in the industry. So I'm absolutely shocked that if you've had that much negativity over it in a way, that's not great. But honestly, I found it so interesting.
Thank you, Shane. I think the main culprit, and in leaving a studio environment and prostituting myself on YouTube, I quickly saw that I lived a sheltered life. So YouTube and just internet forums in general. Here, I was seeing stuff at work in a studio, and I was being accosted online saying that that's impossible. That would bend your Wookiee. Things like, this was back when it was believed you couldn't hand paint with acrylic lacquers like Mr. Color and what have you. And it's like, of course you can. I see people do it every day. But again, I think in their defense, now how sad is this? It's Stockholm Syndrome, isn't it? I'm defending my online haters.
Keyboard warriors.
God love them. The poor buggers, they don't know. That's the main thing. When somebody gets triggered by my work, I instantly commiserate with them internally and think, you don't know yet. Because I'm not saying I'm always right. I get stuff wrong all the time. I'm married. Yeah. I'm constantly reminded of how wrong I am. And my wife's from Tokyo, so she's quite fastidious about documenting how wrong I am. So she's not in the room. But
you had to look around and check you won't be listened to then.
No, she's fantastic. But yeah, that's the main thing though. But yeah, I was accosted quite a few times about the acrylic lacquers and water-based acrylic paint overlaying thing. I was very pleasantly surprised that it is something we can do, just so long as we're giving it enough time for that. Can I go for a triple play? We're giving the Spanish water enough time to evaporate.
I was wondering at one point if it was actually an OnlyFans subscription you had rather than a ordinary.
That joke does get bandied around at home a fair bit, and of course I do get some weird comments about my hands.
Go on, Luke.
As a pro modeler, yeah, no shit. As a plastic modeler who shows his hands in front of the camera, you'll get hand comments because, the internet is a thing.
Luke?
I thought it was only me. I genuinely thought it was only me and my weird perverted subscribers. No, that is superb.
Right. I mean, I've joked with my daughter about this, that my OnlyFans will then be me painting with my feet.
Oh, God.
And if they pay extra, I'll show both feet.
Oh, dear. You've made Luke's day.
And that's a great place to end. That's a great place to end the show, isn't it? But Martin, I hope I answered that question to your satisfaction. I'm sorry if that was not...
Yeah, you did. And
I'm sorry it wasn't concise. I'm sorry I can't get it smaller and I can't make it...
Anyone who's ever heard you talk knows that it's never going to be concise.
But the funny thing is, my real answer... So if we did a different exercise, for example, if I didn't need to explain something, if I just gave an answer to something, my answers would be quite blunt and concise because my operating process in the studio is blunt and concise. I'm only verbose when asked to explain them to bystanders. I'm sorry, I just wanted to suggest and explain that. So
Yeah.
I'm not sitting there. Yeah, I'm not sitting there working, going and rattling on. No, I work in silence almost all of the time, depending on the level of focus required, and it's quite brutal and short. I practice I'm joking when I say this. I'm being self-effacing, but I practice like a concert pianist or violinist. I'm quite in, and the decisions are blunt and concise. It needs to be. Do or don't do, right?
But at the same time, the freedom that you show, I think, is one of the things that really attracts people to Maschinen Krieger, is the fact that the rules are quite loose in techniques you can use and in things that you can do. And if you're coming from an airplane background, you're mostly doing World War II aircraft and modern aircraft, and they have to look a certain way. And even with armor, which I do mostly, again, there are set patterns, camouflages, looks for vehicles. And I think that's one of the reasons that people love the German stuff so much, because there's a bit more variety. And towards the end of the war, when they were running out of stuff, there was huge variety. But with Ma.K, it seems like there's no wrong way, and it's cool to experiment, and it's fun to experiment. And you could, if you want to do your Raptor in shades of red, and that's fine. And I think that's, to me, it's one of the things that's really attractive about the genre, is that you can let your imagination run a bit wild, and it's okay. And we see that in your work.
Can I suggest something?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where I do have the super skill of getting a very big idea and pulling it down into one bullet point. Because I don't often get the chance to show or use it. But with modeling, we can do whatever we want, so long as we win.
Yeah.
And by win, what I mean is the finish wins. Cromulent. It looks great. Now, we can do that irrespective of the genre. We can do it armor, airplane, and it just requires two things: of bravery and the skill and talent to pull it off. But if your finish wins, you can do whatever you want. I'm just going to drop that one there.
That's like a quote from Nelson Mandela, and he says, either I win or I learn. And I think that's relevant.
A lot of mastery comes down to the very same principles, and they're useful across all contexts. Correct. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And Nelson Mandela, fantastic Maschinen Krieger modeler.
A little known fact.
Fun fact. Nelson, with the models, man, he was good.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, I really believe that. And that's probably one of the things that hampers a lot of folks with a lot of talent, is that they're making they're making it for the audience rather than making it look the way they want it to make, and fitting within socially accepted fashion trends rather than making their own.
With that, that's a very good lead into Boulder's question.
Yeah, absolutely. Lincoln, you've spent a lot of time absorbing Japanese modeling culture. What's the biggest difference in mindset between Japanese and Western modelers?
Thank you. Excellent question. Ultimately, they're exactly the same. If we strip the language constraints and how they appear to behave together and in group settings, modelers around the world. Now, I'm only privy to 2 language sets. It might be different in another one, and I do apologize if the answer is boring, but stripped down, ultimately, they think about models and have the same concerns as we were discussing just now, the wanting to fit in, making sure they've got a correct look for the correct genre so that they fit within fashion parameters. They suffer from and enjoy all of the same things as us Western modelers. So once I was able to fit between those lines, I could see that it was actually the same thing on both sides. Just the public viewpoint of them might look a little bit different, but the internal struggle is exactly the same. I would hear them say the same things as my Western friends say, struggling with the same things.
So does that go for creativity as well? Being more effective? Is it more effective in the Japanese modeling culture, or is it exactly the same as the Westerners?
So our mindsets, I say our, because can experience both. But our mindsets towards creativity are functionally different. If you look at Japanese design, like logo design, the way if any of you are fans of just design work, they will approach them in a very different way than Western designers tend to. We tend to be, we're very practical people. So when a Western mind, generally speaking, and it's mostly because of our language, our base structural language, the way we're taught to think based on our language, means that we're very outcome positioned to make sure something is functional at the end, that it works well. Whereas the Japanese design and thinking process has some different cultural layers that are very useful for us to steal. And I say that both in jest and as a great nod to the Anglosphere civilization, because our culture is set up in such a way that we absorb things from other cultures where they are of practical use quite easily and effectively. We're extremely good at that. Yeah. Now, the Japanese design thinking, though, there are a couple of things that we don't technically have, but we do employ to different degrees. They are useful for us to be aware of. And so they're not just for the modelers per se, because I know the question is very good, but Japanese modelers suffer from the same thing as Western modelers in their education level. I don't mean just formal education, their self-educated level of understanding what they're doing differs. You have Japanese experts and Japanese noobs. They have the full spectrum, just like we do. I would speak to some Japanese kids and they just had no clue about anything yet. Being Japanese did not open up the floodgates of being wisdomous like Joey from Friends instantly. They still had to go through learning. But there are a couple of things that are completely different between our cultures. Things like, I understand they probably get, if you look these up online, you'll get different versions of them that are more popularized. But it's a fine way, excuse me, it's a fine way to get acquainted with them. Things like wabi-sabi. I know it sounds like a joke word, but no, it's a real thing. And wabi-sabi is the idea of something being comfortable in its worn state, and it makes it quite cool and stylish, despite it being worn, used, old. And it's a state of feeling that we don't quite have the words or thought process to understand, but we do understand it when we see it. If you've got old jeans, old denim, old jeans, if it's done in a stylish way, that's a form of wabi-sabi. So it's being comfortable with being disheveled. We do have that kind of thing. Oh, man, what's his name? My daughter often speaks about this gentleman. That's why I'm somewhat familiar with him. He's the young guy who played Batman more recently. He played Cedric in the Harry Potters.
Robert Patterson?
Yeah, that's him, Mr. Patterson. He's a reasonable example of a British star who has that kind of wabi-sabi look. You know what I mean? He often looks, pardon me for saying, he doesn't look particularly well-groomed or well-kept. But
disheveled.
He looks disheveled, right? But he rocks it really well and very comfortably. So that's one example of that. Now, that's a kind of thinking that can be applied to our models, in that some vehicles, like everyone was talking airplanes. So a fantastic example would be the F4 Corsair. They look correct, beaten to heck, don't they? They look comfortable. That airplane wears that well. So that's a very different thinking. I know what I'm saying sounds absolutely insane, but from a Japanese perspective, that's what they would say, wabi-sabi. Another word that I try to, and I put this word and I try to explain it in my books as possible, but I understand, I got to be careful. It's an English language publication. You can't put too much weird Japanese stuff into it. And I didn't realize that I might come across as a Japanophile, because of that term was just not a thing to me until I left Japan. I heard the word weeb for the first time. You guys are familiar with the weeb term?
Nope.
Nope. We're obviously not hip and trendy.
No? Am I even using it correctly? Anyway, you often get some folks who are like, they're quite into some aspects of Japanese culture, but only nerdy, dorky stuff like certain kinds of anime or other toy stuff or whatever. It's a very segmented thing. And I realized that people with their first blush with what I did would be thinking, that's the pigeonhole I can put this guy in. Even though, truth be known, I'm actually not a fan of a lot of that stuff. I found it quite off-putting. Even stuff like, and people will be upset about it, I found, as a young guy, I found Gundam, the show, very off-putting because of the screaming. I've not seen the English language version, but if you try to watch the Japanese one, they scream at each other in a way that Japanese guys do when they're pretending to fight. They'll come up and get really close to each other and mouth off. And no one hits each other, which is a really odd thing. They'll get up within striking range and absolutely scream at top note until they realize they shouldn't do that to a young Australian bloke. Because we have a different rule set, right? They're like, oh, I'm not supposed to react like that. Okay. But if I'm careful of putting too much of this in, but seeing as the question was put to me in that way, then that's the only way I can answer it. Again, sorry for going long. The second word that I might like to suggest is a difference between the thinking. And again, this is not specific to modeling. It's a cultural thing that I think is much more powerful than just something modelers do. And it's a short one. It's called shibui. If you wrote it in Romaji, it's Shibui. Shibui. And it's extremely complex idea. But the best Western example I've been able to find of it is actually Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect. Are any of you familiar with his work?
Yep. Yeah, I know his stuff.
Yeah, okay, cool. So he's nicely famous. He, interestingly, spent some time in Japan, and he also did the very first American live-scale hotel installation there in the middle of Tokyo, and it was very well designed. So Shibui is the idea of something being, the complexity is reduced to a simple form, and you can understand and feel its, you can understand and appreciate and feel its complexity without it needing to be complex. So you can enjoy a wristwatch without having to know how it works, for example. That's a approximation of the ability to summarize something complex. You guys see what I mean, right? Wristwatches are exceedingly complex, especially a mechanical version. They're very complex. To appreciate and enjoy it, no, you just need to know how to read the time, is something that high level, not all of them, very high level Japanese modelers do try to imbue into their work. But some Western modelers do it as well, unbeknownst to the concept, because it's a universal human thing at the highest level. And it's about reducing, going back to the Rembrandt idea. Rembrandt became more enabled with the ability to produce a shibui outcome later in his career by having less brushstrokes, perhaps less colors. The ability to produce expert level work with less is probably a good explanation of shibui. It's more than that, and it's used across many aspects. Somebody can put an outfit together, and based on how simple it is and how it works, how the color palette works, you might hear then the term shibui applied to it. And that was one of the fantastic things about learning second language by ear, is that you get concrete examples to learn it by, if that makes sense. You may not understand something, but if you see it and somebody says the word, you learn it from an internal human place rather than an intellectual place. Your lizard brain learns the concept before the intellectual overlay. So that would be, and I'm sorry to go long there, but coming back to the Japan versus Western modeler, they do have access to a couple of ideas. If they're well schooled, if they study and learn what's available, they might have access to these kind of ideas, but it is only at the very high level. At every other level, I'd just say we're exactly the same. Man, that was long. Really apologize. Sorry, guys.
Not a problem in the slightest.
Probably a very good answer there.
Oh, very good.
You produce books, guides, tutorials, all of that lovely content. Does teaching ever get in the way of simply making art for yourself?
Yes.
Well, that was quick.
Well, yes, it does. Of course it does.
Yeah.
Needing to slow something down to be able to document it is one of the biggest challenges in what we do. For any of you who also make content whilst you're creating, you understand that there's that dichotomy of production, right? There's the doing and then there's the documenting thereof. So that was one of the hardest things to learn to do. Yes. Because the mindset is separate and different and contradictory, isn't it? You need to be able to see your work from multiple altitudes whilst it's being done. So the monkey needs to do the thing, but then his boss monkey, he needs to be also thinking about how to capture that. And then the boss of that monkey, the art director monkey, needs to also be mindful of how is this going to go together into a final product, like a book, for example. And then his monkey boss needs to understand how not only that single model works together in a compilation project. I did those 8 models across one book. How do they all work together? And then there's a final level above that where then it's a series of volumes. How do they work together and explain something for the person? Not that everyone will see how that works, and that's irrelevant, but it's your responsibility and duty to produce that for the people. So does that get in the way? Oh, hell yes. And as I've intimated, I need to guard and protect myself from thinking at those different altitudes to make sure I'm still producing what effectively becomes good work, because that has to come first. The work has to be good. Doesn't matter how good you are at representing it, sharing it, documenting it, pumping out the YouTube videos or whatever. The work needs to be the primary thing that is good. Otherwise, what the hell are you sharing it for?
Yeah, no, I think I can agree. I have a smallish YouTube channel as well, so definitely share those values in terms of quality over quantity in certain aspects. It ties into a small other question in terms of,
sure,
for me, as my content is like on a different side of the planet to yours, quite literally, it's more about publicizing a kit rather than work, if that makes sense. So I will sometimes guide.
Hey, people need to know that it's a top opening box.
Yeah, I'm not that much of a twat.
No, not implied. I just thought, despite the highbrow nonsense that I get into babbling about, I also wanted to drop some jokes. So, sorry.
Yeah, no, of course.
I'm not at your expense at all. I just thought, top opening box. I love that line.
It's as you say, people need to know. People need to absolutely cream themselves over a top opening box, you know? Yeah. So pretty much, would you ever, it's hard to phrase the question, but as in, I sometimes lean a little bit into the hype of maybe a modeling, like for example, new Airfix releases or something like that. There seems to be such a huge market for that. For putting that into your own context, would you ever lean into something which has some hype around it, for example?
Good question. Maybe you're asking it for me, though, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, not anymore, no. Because there's only so many hats you can wear. The reason behind doing something needs to be clear. And there's different, to put it bluntly, there's different business models that we can pursue. And what you're describing is what I would call an attention-based model. And the product is attention, isn't it? When you're going for hype or when you're talking about new releases and what have you, what you're actually selling is attention. Whereas attention versus substance are the two biggest delineators there. And it's difficult to do both at the same time because much as we're told otherwise, we're binary creatures, aren't we? We can only do one or the other. So trying to pursue multiple things at the same time, especially for somebody like me, I find that exceedingly difficult. So and to be perfectly frank, there's little to no upside for me to hype something like FX kits. Although I love FX kits. I haven't made any of the new ones yet. I know they're not new, but for me, I'm old, man. So they're new. But running a business based on this, I do need to be careful what aligns with what I do and how I make that work. So just leaning into hype for something is difficult to justify, if that makes sense. Because ultimately, each decision, choosing to do one thing means that you can't do another, right? We only have limited time and focus.
Yeah. No, I think that sums it up pretty well.
I'm curious, why do you ask that question? Where are you going with that?
I think for me personally, and it is such an interesting response as well to say that you can't do two things at the same time. And I agree to a certain extent. My whole...
Oh, no. It's not a certain extent. Prove me otherwise. Show me two things you can do in the same time increment. We physically can't do that. And if you choose to do one thing with humans get about 3 or 4 hours per day of where you can produce top level stuff, do stuff that means something. After that, we're glycogen depleted, you got nothing left. You can't use it again. I've tried.
Do you think that value changes with age? Because I will happily, and maybe it's just me, but I will happily stay up until 5:30 a.m. just sitting at a model and thinking. And in my opinion, it is up to the quality of work, which I would say is my highest.
Interesting. No, I don't think I go to bed early because I'm old. I go to bed early because I'm smart. I work early in the morning not because I'm old. I work, and this is not a personal attack. I'm not attacking people. People work when they have to. There's that too. I over the years, I've worked when it needs to be done. But there's certain human biology that cannot be circumvented. And so I make sure to align with that. But there is idiosyncrasies. If you happen to be a night owl, there are many examples of people over time who've produced fantastic work in the middle of the night. If that happens to be you, do you. That's the most important thing I would say about that. I don't think it's age-based. I think it's more you-based, if that makes sense.
I think it makes sense. I think what I was more kind of trying to poke the bear at would be in terms of, you say 3 to 4 hours of maximum capability work. Is that something that you personally, so like for you, you can do 4 hours and then you put down the brush?
No, it's documented. It's not me. Sorry, again, it's any work at a high level of cognitive strain. Humans tap out about 4 hours, 3.5, 4.5, depending on how well versed you are in doing it. That's not me. I'm not inventing this. This is just a thing. You can look into it. Any work that requires a very high level of cognitive focus, humans have a limited pool of that ability every day. And it basically resets with nutrition and sleep. That's not to say you can't do work that you think is good after that, but your chances of errors, mistakes, being sloppy, anything, rise incredibly if you push past those barriers. That's just a thing.
But does being sloppy feed into your organic nature that you sometimes want to achieve?
Well, I had hoped I dispelled that myth earlier in the conversation, but I'm actually the opposite of sloppy. My work can look visceral, but that's through a great deal of pain and personal anguish to move away from I think our best works can be produced when we go against the grain, just as an interesting side thing. If people who are naturally sloppy with their output will do better if they force discipline on their work. And the corollary is also true. People who are naturally tightly wound and want to produce I'm just thinking of a joke I make with my daughter. She says, "Dad, you'd be happy stacking boxes, wouldn't you?" I said, "Yes, especially if they're all neatly aligned." So people who work with that mind frame, actually going against it can produce some of the more interesting work because we're forced to go against our comfort zone, if that makes sense. So if anything, I know you might look at my work and think, "Oh, well, he's sloppy," but it's anything but. And it's quite the disciplined approach to making it look rough or natural that's produced that faux natural look. Or it is become natural over time. I don't know. I would probably be one of the worst critics of my own work because to me, they just look like finish number 272. Okay, that experiment worked. On to the next one. So my most recent models, I think, what were they? The Hammer Knight, Ghost Knight, and now Exile Knight. They're quite different experiments in a slightly different take on the look. But depending on where you are in your trajectory with training your observation skills, they might look different to you. It's hard to put that into words, isn't it? Because we probably see these things as visual constructs, and apparently we all think quite differently. There's a different amount of like language, visual imagery, the order of images we see in our brains as we think. It's quite hard to share them between each other and then export that into an audio file that goes into a podcast. Yeah, that's tough. So I don't know if that answered that for you, but that's the best I can say.
Yeah. No, it definitely does, all the different kind of things I threw out there. And also, I want to say, I don't think that your work is sloppy at all. It's just more me poking at the kind of sloppy nature. To me, it almost feels smoother. And I feel like that's sometimes what I feel your models sometimes look like in terms of smooth in a right way, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, fine. Again, I'm just happy. I'm happy you look at them. Looking at them versus not looking at them. Looking at them is the win. If you look at them and you enjoy and you take something from it, I consider that a win. Thank you. Thank you for looking at my work. I hope one day I won't say that. No.
Go on. You started, you're going to finish.
No, I mean, I'm interested how different finishes I've done, how they age, because often they'll be quite negatively received, and sometimes they improve over time or sometimes they don't. I think that's not the actual work. That's not a me thing. I'm pretty sure that's the eye of the beholder thing, that as people get better at looking at things or their understanding of things changes, they might look at my finishes and see them slightly differently. So I see that as a real positive. It means there's some complexity there that needs to be deciphered rather than a one and done. The kind of finishes that pop up, that they're beautiful. I appreciate them as well, but they're often cited as being examples of, and this is why you don't do weathering, kids. And I feel almost that there's an oversimplification due to the person sharing that might not have the ability to actually take that further. I often see the word restraint used. And I'll see people saying, oh, and I decided to stick with restraint weathering on this model. It's like, okay, can you do heavy and advanced weathering? Can you? And it's not a challenge, but it's something that I can't help but notice when I see that people say, I've only done light weathering on this one, but I don't remember ever seeing a different version thereof. And it's most likely that the person does not have that in their magic big book of spells. It's just not there.
Okay. Well, for this episode, Dan, you have the last question.
If you had to choose between a technically flawed model with a strong narrative or a flawless model with no story, which one would you say matters more and why?
I'm sorry, may I qualify the question? Flawed, are we talking about the build is flawed or the actual kit is considered to be flawed? Where is the flaw occurring first?
Yeah, I'd say the kit is flawed the way that it's built, but the narrative and the creativity and probably more the storytelling is more prominent over a model that's technically built perfect, but probably a bit vanilla.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to make sure I've zoomed in on the question, because are we talking, has the model been built now? And is it built flawlessly or it was built with flaws?
The model was built flawlessly.
Okay. So because I would consider them two different questions. I have to tackle flawed kits all the time because Hasegawa models, bless them, they don't build like Tamiya or Bandai, or you guys have built some stuff by Hasegawa. Oh, they have a flavor all their own, don't they? Especially some of the older ones. But I feel that a kit has to be made as nigh flawlessly as we can, because the foundation is very important. A strong foundation is required, because if you paint something to a very high resolution, it means it will be inspected quite closely. And if the build is flawed, that will only bring attention to said flaws.
Yeah, I've just bought a 1350th Yamato, having never built a ship before, but I like to just jump into deep end sometimes and see if I can swim. And a few people said to me, why did you not buy this manufacturer or the other manufacturer? The reason why I went for Tamiya is because I know from all of previous Tamiya kits, I'm going to be on the front foot rather than on the ropes from the start, you know?
100% agreed.
Yeah.
Many of the airplane kits that I pretend I will build, I buy the Tamiya ones.
Yeah.
Because there's that proof of build sequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're much likely to trust them, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't want to go too deep into that one. Well, but it's subject-based too, isn't it? Because sometimes we don't have...
So what about models with no story then? If someone builds a Maschinen Krieger kit and not necessarily you would be criticizing it, but when people would say, I don't know where this thing has been. There's no story here. The colors are the weather. There's no ingrained dirt and dust and scratches and all those little things that tell the story. The chipping, the wear in the right areas. Something that we were talking to Stuart Rolfe from Black Hat Scale Models about.
Oh, Stuart.
Yeah, about.
I've met Stuart.
Because obviously he spent time in the Australian military and in and around tanks, and we said that almost the larger the scale tank gets, you've got to really zoom in and focus in on those wear areas. Whereas if it's a little 48 or a 72nd skit, you're almost giving a general impression of it. So
exactly, that's hugely true. Depending on the scale, because we're doing an abstraction of reality, the scale matters a great deal, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the bigger the scale, the more realistic we have to make our abstraction. Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I do strongly suggest that folks put together, even if they don't need to know our backstory. They don't need to know the canon for anything. Again, I would say this is not Maschinen Krieger specific. They could do this about anything. You can put together a plane, a tank, whatever, a ship.
Or even a Gundam.
Yeah. You don't need to know the show. I mean, in fact, sometimes it might even benefit you to not know the show. You know, are we the baddies? So,
yeah.
But having a narrative for your model is highly helpful, highly advantageous, because it then can answer a lot of your questions. So I'll have folks who ask you, how do you choose what to do with the models? I said, well, I tried to imagine it. Sorry, truck going past. They're up early. I tried to imagine if it were real and work it through a number of things. So where is it happening? Why is it happening? What's it going through? And I think that can apply to anything, but really specifically, because we've had I don't want to use the word, because we don't have the hindsight of historical evidence to base our narrative on, we have to make something up. That actually is one of the things that I think is wonderful about sci-fi models in particular, in that you can make up anything cool, and then that will help you to frame your choices into why you've made it look a certain way. So I think that's a great idea. I like it a lot.
But it also goes back to, like Brownie was saying earlier, when you start a kit, or whether it's a Maschinen Krieger or a Gundam or an aircraft or a ship or whatever, you have that vision of how you want it to look at the end. You don't always necessarily get there, but sometimes, for me personally, it ends up going in a slightly different direction. You think, actually, I'm happy with how that turned out, and I've learned something on the way as well.
Happy accidents.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Mr. Ross.
Happy accidents. And here we are.
Here we are, sticking bits of plastic together and telling stories.
No, really, if you think about it, the whole reason I'm here speaking with you fine gentlemen early on a Sunday morning is through a series of happy accidents.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Funny how it works.
It certainly is.
Yes, the accident being you agreed to actually come on. Lincoln, it's been an absolute pleasure. To say we haven't even gone through a quarter of the questions we had for you is an understatement. I'm obviously conscious about eating into your Sunday morning. And obviously it's getting very late here in the UK, but we would like to welcome you back onto the show again.
Please.
In the future, so we can actually go further into the subject, because we've got a lot more deep and meaningful questions to ask you. But hopefully...
I have no further deep and meaningful answers to give.
Oh, you have.
That's it.
Oh.
You're all done.
I'm out. Dear.
No, that's it. I've got no more. No, that's me. I'm out.
I don't know. Another coffee, we might be there.
Lincoln,
We'd like to welcome you back again in the future if you'd agree to come back and actually continue the conversation, because it's absolutely insightful. I think is an understatement.
I understand as podcasters, you'll have those weeks where you don't have somebody show up, and that's when I'll see the invitation in my inbox.
Oh, no. No.
I understand how this game works.
Oh, no, definitely not.
You're not on the subs bench, Lincoln. Don't worry.
No, it's been fascinating.
Let's put it this way. We made sure that Martin was available. And Martin has actually been on the shift all last night in the States at his time, had a quick knack to make sure he was available for this conversation. Everything was geared around his availability and your availability.
I feel no guilt whatsoever.
Yeah, I was in Hawaii, to be fair, so I don't deserve to.
Oh, yeah. First world problems, Martin. First world problems.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah, I'm really feeling the suffering there, Martin. Yeah.
In the trenches.
So, Lincoln, obviously you've actually made reference in our conversation about products and books that you've actually written and other material. Where can people find that information online?
Thanks, Brownie. Everything I do lives under Paint on Plastic. All of the books, guides, and kits. That's the easiest place to find the work.
Okay.
Beyond that, I'd say that just don't rush your techniques. Finish projects. Look at the results and build taste over time. That's where most of the progress actually comes from. I just wanted to leave that with folks.
Okay, so that's paintonplastic.com?
Sure, yes.
Fantastic. Okay.
It's the same across all of the platforms.
Anyway, Lincoln, thank you very much. The content and what we've actually got through from the answers we've actually heard from you this evening has been unbelievable. It really has. And as I said to you, I didn't want it to be just another interview about, as you said at the very beginning, about who you are, what you are. A lot of the shows have already covered that in the past. We wanted to get more deeply into the hows, the whys, and the wherefores. So hopefully we challenged you a little bit with the questions we had.
No, very good questions. Thank you very much for giving it so much forethought. I'm very impressed with how prepared you were to ask some deeper questions. Thank you. Thank you for the effort. I appreciate it.
Not a problem in the slightest. And we look forward to welcoming back in the future.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invitation. Anytime you're not thrown out and invited back again is a good sign.
Oh dear. Anyway, with that.
Pleasure to speak to you, Lincoln.
Indeed. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the conversation.
Do you want cutting-edge detail for your kits? Then take a look at Phase Hanger Resin Accessories, run by USAF veteran Mike Reeves. With real-world aircraft experience as a crew chief, Mike knows exactly where accuracy counts. And today, he's bringing that knowledge to life with precision 3D printed parts. From seamless intakes and nozzles to dropped flaps, pods, pylons, and cockpit upgrades, Phase Hanger's prints capture the crisp edges and fine detail that limitations in injection molding just can't reproduce. From 1/72nd to 1/32nd scale, you'll find add-ons from Cold War classics to the latest frontline jets with frequent new additions to the product range. Every piece is designed by modelers, for modelers, and faithfully reproduced on state-of-the-art printers and shipped worldwide, and are ready to drop straight into your next build. With additions to the product line landing all the time, there's always something fresh to elevate your next build. Explore the full range at phasehangerresin.com and follow Phase Hanger on Facebook and Instagram for regular updates and inspiration. Phase Hanger Resin Accessories, authentic detail designed with a veteran's eye and available to modelers everywhere. Phase Hanger is a proud sponsor of the Beyond the Box Art podcast.
Well, that's it for the end of episode 21. So from Wongy.
Ta-ra, everyone. And remember, 60 shows or less.
Boulders.
Cheerio all.
Dan.
See you, Benchmates. Just remember, they're all practice for the next one.
Mark.
See you guys. Be good.
And from John.
Thanks for having me again. See you next month. Bye-bye.
And from myself, thanks for listening. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. You've spent years I'll start again. This is going to be one of those evenings. I know it. It's late for us, early for you. It goes downhill from here, I promise you.
That's a good start, because immediately pressure's off. Please go to paintonplastic.com.
We haven't started yet, but yes, we can keep that going.